Welcome, Crime and Coffee crew. Let's get our coffee, let's get comfy, and dive right into part 3 of Charlie on the Stand. I don't know how much more I can take of this. I have watched this many of times, but I didn't realize how long it was. Like, it's extremely long. Both him and Daniel Rashbaum are long-winded, let's say. Okay, without further ado, here we go. Oh, by the way, when you guys are seeing the ticker, honestly, I should do behind the scenes video because I'm dancing. I'm dancing when the ticker's going. Okay, let's dive in.
Computer setup.
Before we bring in the jurors, there was one thing that I needed to address with the gallery. I believe during the testimony there was some head shaking going on. This is precisely the thing that I advised everyone about before. Regardless of your own personal opinion of what is coming from the witness stand, do not make any gestures, do not make any motions, do not move your head in a way that would otherwise suggest you agree or disagree. The jurors have to make up their minds based on the evidence. There cannot be any outside influence coming into that process. For anyone who cannot abide by this, the bailiffs are going to remove you. This is the last time I'm going to address this topic. Mr. Rauschbaum.
Judge, two things. First of all, I just need 1 second to set up the computer.
Go ahead.
And also, if we could approach on a new attempted exhibit.
This is from the prior composite.
Yes.
You may.
Judge Everett is a very fair man. But I bet you make him mad, you're going to know it.
To the state as well. And we've taken portions of it that are quote unquote, as the court said, relevant. There are prior objections we will keep for the record.
Rule on this, I'm glad you brought that up because there was one additional matter I wanted to place on the record concerning the composites as well. Given the composition of the jury, which contains certain members of a minority group which may find offensive subject matter that was in part contained in those composites, this is in part the court's ruling to protect the defendant from any unfair prejudice caused by either his words or the words of those communicating with him. As to the new edited version, does the state have a position?
Yes, Your Honor, I would raise the same objection, hearsay and relevance. These are text messages offered to prove that the defendant didn't text about the murder. There's been no allegation that he texted about the murder. It's not challenged. It's been testified to. This is extrinsic evidence to prove it. It contains the right amount of relevant hearsay, so I would object.
Mr. Rauschbaum, were these statements ever inquired with Ms. McBanawa or specifically presented to her?
Oh, dear God, don't bring her back.
Yes.
Which one?
It's a comfy
The
day.
one about
I
the
feel
fight
snuggly
the
today.
day before. The ones about the fight the day before. But not kind of. I think the short answer is not directly. They're not going toward, our argument wouldn't be towards impeachment. Our argument would be going towards state of mind, Your Honor. Charlie Adelson's state of mind. I know that the state doesn't want the jury to be able to see the evidence, but it's the exact same evidence that they have put in regarding
Save it for them.
phone records.
Your audience of one on this topic is also an attorney. I understand these matters. All right. As to this specifically, The fight I will deem is admissible. The other portions, I'm still going to sustain the objection as to relevance and hearsay. The text on the fight, I believe this would be 7/18/2014. Starting at 13:09. And then those would end at 18:20. The other portions, the prior ruling applies.
May I make one additional argument for the record?
Go ahead.
So the state has put in a phone record in which they talk about a pattern of calls. These emails explain why there are those pattern of calls. These text messages explain that. So for instance, they bring in calls on their sheet regard their CDRs on the evening of the 16th. Calls with Catherine Magbanua. Those calls relate to Mr. Adelson having dinner with Erica Johnson. It explains those calls. Similarly, they bring in calls on the 17th and 18th that relate to these text messages. In other words, the text messages explain. I'll give you an example. Call me ASAP, and then there's a call, right? So it gives context to their very evidence. It explains to the jury why these calls are happening. They're highly relevant, and to not allow it in, I think, is prejudicial against Mr. Adelson.
As it relates to the fight, I believe the 7/18 messages between himself and Ms. Magbanua cover that territory, do they not?
They do, but their argument is going to be that that's not what they're speaking about that night. The text messages are from the next day, right?
No one is going to be permitted on either side, excuse me, to present any factual issue out of proper context. Now, I believe, as it's been presented already through the direct, your client testified to them having a fight. This otherwise demonstrates his state of mind and shows what was going on the day of the murder, which is relevant. Getting further into the fight, which doesn't go to the elements or any other matter, why again is this relevant?
It's relevant because they have a chart that shows that Charlie calls Katie at 12:45 in the morning. I'm making up times. Katie calls Sigfredo at 12:50 in the morning. Charlie calls Katie. These text messages show what the calls are about. Now, I was able to ask my client the question on the stand. These text messages are corroboration for him.
Any further argument, Ms. Keppelman, as the context for the 7/16 texts?
Argument, the text messages show what the content of a phone call was?
The context of what was happening on 7/16.
No, sir. I don't think we're disputing that they have appeared to have had an argument on 7/16. I don't remember that being an issue in the case, so I'll stick with my prior objection.
Right, over the state's objection, the text between the defendant and Ms. Magbanua will be admitted on 7/18. As far as the other texts, the court is not going to admit them on grounds of relevance and hearsay. Any other matters to address before the jurors come in?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Rauschbaum,
Computer working? I don't think so, Your Honor.
please bring in the jurors.
Should I have Mr. Adelson take the stand first?
Yes, come on up, Mr. Adelson.
This.
We're going to just try to skip this to get to where the jury's in. There we go. Doesn't look like there are many people came back after
Everyone
lunch.
can be seated. Mr. Rauschbaum, you may continue with your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Charlie. You're aware of something called the bump, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're aware that as a result of the bump, a whole host of calls happen after it, correct?
Yes.
Judge, I promise not to play every call, but we're going to play some. So at this point in time, permission to publish already in evidence, State Exhibit A.
Please proceed.
That's the dream team for this trial. Oh, here we go with the computer. Poor Daniel on this computer. I know this takes a few minutes, so let's go. Skip ahead here. Try to minimize the amount of time we're here. Oh boy, Daniel. You got a feel for him
Take your
though.
time.
Okay. The volume.
Oh, Charlie's even helping.
Okay. Yeah, I was just seeing if I could adjust the volume.
Please give a thumbs up so that way I can be sure everyone can hear it.
I guess we'll continue with it.
Oh, then to go to sidebar. Yep.
Resume.
Nope, jury's going out. What is going on now?
Volume control, but I'm not sure.
Always so helpful. Charlie is. Helpful Charlie. Okay, let's just try to get it to where the jury comes back out. Got somebody working on it. That's stress.
I guess let's.
It's up to you. I mean, does it sound?
I have normal hearing. I guess let's.
It's up to you. I mean, does it sound like it? You can hear it.
Mr. Adelson, are you having any difficulty with hearing what's coming out of the speaker?
I can hear it pretty good.
All right, let's do a test run for the jurors. If they're fine with listening to the speaker, we'll move on. If not, they can put back on their headsets. I don't want to spend much time messing around with the headsets either.
It's all working, so maybe you just, if they want to use the headsets, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to.
All right, please bring them in.
That was quite a chunk of time. I don't see Katie Kool-Lady. Did she not make it back in after lunch? Okay, let's get this going here. Finally.
Everyone can be seated. Members of the jury, we're going to test the speaker first to determine whether you can clearly hear the audio coming out of the speaker. If you can clearly hear the audio, please give a thumbs up. If not, you'll have the option of putting back on your headsets. I believe where is their audio ability to change their volume levels? Okay. Does everyone understand how to operate the volume switch? Please test away, Mr. Rauschbaum.
Test it first.
So, if on tonight after work or some other fun in the very near future, Okay. Just tell her write a letter to you or something?
Okay.
Okay, everyone's good? All right, we're not gonna do the screen, because that's just causing for more problems. All right.
Continue at your own peril, but you may continue.
Your Honor. So, Charlie, I'm gonna play for you call A. This is a call on April 19th, 2016, 2:09 PM. It's the first call with your mom after the bump, okay?
So, if on tonight after work or some other fun in the very near future, Okay. Just tell her write a letter to you or something? That's some paperwork. Hand delivery. You're being sued? No, it's what I thought it was. I'm going to talk to you.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, have to figure out something. Control it, will be wherever you are.
Well, I'm in Mitch Klein's office on Park Boulevard.
Okay.
So I'm right now in Silent Chili, and I'll be at his office in the afternoon.
So the boys will finish their piano lesson around 4-ish, and they, the traffic at the end, they take a ride with them upstairs.
Does Dad know about this?
The dad's at work today, fortunately.
What's Medicare? Is it IRS? Or?
You know, the IRS people, they kind of bother you sometimes, but fortunately not me.
Okay.
So I will talk to you. I'll give you a heads up if I'm gonna drive up that way.
Okay.
Okay? And
Just when you know that? Is it about when you?
No. So let me just talk to you later, and,
What is it? Is it his health okay?
yeah,
All right. Does it involve me or other people?
well, probably both of them.
What's that?
Probably the two of them. So we probably have a general idea what I'm talking about.
All right.
Probably the two of
Let's
us.
find some time to talk to each other and get the voice for a while, okay?
You're gonna take the boys up there?
Home, if you can get it till about 7, you can get it.
So it's harder to talk to me today.
You or, tomorrow,
All right. Well, I'll be up at Mitch Klein's office. You want to come up? Oh yeah. So really like.
I'm just concerned that I can get up there and get back and find for Angie to get them. Sometimes she gets out a little earlier.
Can I ask you a question? Who's the paperwork has from?
I see them, that's great. I think it's hands with hands and I like to look at them today.
And he was it anonymous or?
Oh, no, not anonymous. Not anonymous. I just don't want to be separate.
Right, whatever it is, it is. I'm sorry, but if you
I
want,
wouldn't bother you, trust me.
yeah, I know. You want me to come down to see you tomorrow? I actually have the day off.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Dad actually starts later tomorrow. You know, he goes in at 1 o'clock. We both work out at the gym from 9:30 to 10:30. So,
Whatever it is, I'll take a look at the paperwork.
yeah.
I hope it's not the IRS. But I
I just
will.
would like you to review it and give me some input as to what your thoughts are. Okay, so come down tomorrow. Dad leaves at 12, so anytime after 12 is good.
12 tomorrow.
Yeah, he leaves at 12, he stops at 1 there, so 12, 12:15.
All right, I'll come down in the afternoon. I'm everything else.
That would be great.
Perfect. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Love you coming by.
Charlie, where are you when this call happens?
I'm at Sky Chili eating a bowl of chili.
Your mom says that she had some paperwork delivered to her. Do you have any clue what she's talking about?
I have no clue what she's talking about.
What do you guess?
I thought it was the IRS.
What else do you guess?
Is everyone's health okay?
Do you think it has anything to do with either your extortion or Professor Markel's murder at this point in time?
No, not at all.
Why are you asking so many questions?
My mom, I know my mom my whole life. She's talking weird on the phone. She's like, it's like something's obvious. I can tell something's bothering her, but she's beating around the bush.
Now,
your mom says, you say, does it involve me or other people? And your mom responds, well, probably both of us, probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea of what I'm talking about. And I want to focus on those statements. Okay. When she says that to you, did you have any clue what she was talking about?
No, I think I asked her a few more questions after that.
Now, as the calls progress, do you know what she's talking about?
By the time I got to the end of the third call, I knew exactly what she was talking. I felt like I knew pretty much what she was talking about.
By that point in time, and I want to go back to this line, does it involve me or other people? Her answer, well, probably both of us, probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea of what I'm talking about. By the end of figuring out what this was, what did you understand her to be saying here?
By the time I got down to the third call, I realized fully what she was talking about in this call, in that she's getting extorted.
And so why the two of us?
She knows I was extorted 2 years earlier, and it's the same people that are coming to extort her for money. So she's trying to say like it's the same thing that happened to you is happening to me.
And just to be clear, about a month and a half after the extortion of you, who did you tell?
My mom. She's the only person I told.
Now, when she says it's probably the both of us, probably the two of us, you understand the state's theory is that this murder conspiracy was, in addition to Katie, Sigfredo, and Luis Rivera, you, your mom, your dad, your sister. Do you understand that?
I do now, yeah.
She doesn't say probably the four of us, does she?
No, she's not.
She doesn't say all of us, does she?
No.
She says the two of us, right?
Yeah.
Now, the bump, what was the bump?
The bump was an extortion from Latin King gang members. Or actually, it was the FBI pretending to be Latin King gang members.
Now, on this call, there's discussion about your dad's schedule. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Why was it important? Why do you learn later that it was important what your dad's schedule was?
Because my dad never knew what happened to me. And my mom was going to want to talk to me when my dad wasn't around.
If we can go to B, which is a call right after, and it's you calling your mom back.
Sure.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
Good. Is it me not paying the Sun Pass?
No.
I'm kidding. No, listen, what was I gonna say? Do you mind paying my Brown and Brown insurance?
No.
Okay, because I'm gonna just stick with the same company.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is this, if you stay with the same company for 3 years, they can then try to bump you down into a lower bracket.
Oh, okay. So it's a good idea to do that.
So I might as well stay with them and then hope that that's actually true, that they can do what they said about putting it in a lower bracket.
Okay. Do you want me to call Pam Hall?
Yeah, because I told her that my mom would call her because she handles like that stuff at the office.
Okay.
And then just send them in a check. Because they have to have it before, I want to say the 29th or something.
Okay.
I'll do that. And listen, whatever it is, whatever someone sent you, I wouldn't worry too much about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so someone can write whatever they want to write, someone can say whatever they want to say, and I'm not worried. So, was it another bad review on Yelp?
You know, there's youth and
When your words
sometimes
come back
you're
to
right.
haunt you.
It's a particularly bad one. So,
But I'm not being sued.
no.
Okay. All right. Honestly, whatever it is, and I wouldn't just judging from what you're making it sound like. I wouldn't stress it out too much.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, people can always write. People can always say anything they want. It doesn't. If someone says you're a bad dentist, it doesn't mean you're a bad dentist. So. But anyway, I will. I'll definitely come down. It actually works out perfectly because I had the day off.
Okay. You know, so I'll make you take me out to dinner, so make sure you bring cash with you.
All right.
Okay?
Do I need to bring cash?
Yeah, it's like if you take me out to dinner, and I can.
I want to pause it there.
You call your mom back and you start talking about the SunPass. Does that have anything to do with this case, the SunPass? Is it code?
SunPass is not code.
Why do you mention the SunPass?
Because a couple weeks earlier, my SunPass had gotten stolen out of the car from a valet. I didn't realize it. And my parents were getting all these bills. So they make a big deal about little things sometimes. So whatever it was, I was making fun of my mom. I thought she was like a small issue, like a SunPass thing.
And you then start talking about Brown and Brown Insurance. What's Brown and Brown Insurance? Is that code?
No, that was actually the reason I called her back. Is from the last call, I forgot to tell her that I had to pay that insurance. Otherwise, if my insurance lapses, they'll cancel the policy, and it was due. So it was due by the 29th.
You then start making more guesses. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, still at a loss for what's going on.
You bring up Yelp. You bring up getting sued, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, any clue whatsoever what this is about at this point in time?
No, she just sounded really weird on the first call.
Okay. Then we get to the part that we just stopped. And she says to you, I will make you take me out to dinner. So make sure you bring cash with you. At that point in time, what happens to your demeanor? You can hear it on the call. What happens?
I stutter and I repeat back to her what she just said. I'm like, I got to bring cash with me. Like it was so out of place.
Why did that happen at that point in time?
I think she was trying to hint to me that she's getting extorted.
So what was odd about you bringing cash to dinner?
I put everything I possibly can on my credit card. That's how I've ended up saving up so much cash.
And let's hear how you respond.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this? I should bring cash. I don't have much cash to bring.
No, I'll see if I have money for dinner. Let's see what I have here.
Was it? Can I ask you? Is someone blackmailing you?
No, it's just a possibility.
You think someone's trying to blackmail you?
Maybe.
No. That's crazy. Is there? I don't know what it was blackmail for, but is there any way I can see you? You can't come up here at all.
It's difficult if they don't finish the parent teacher wouldn't leave for the therapy school. And even if I came up there and got the 5:15, it would still be tough to, necessarily get back here in time for the month.
Was this? Can I just ask you this? Is this anything government related, or is this like whack job writing a letter to you?
Like who?
Is it like a whack job writing a letter to you, or is this government related?
No, I don't know. If it's government related.
So it's not government or military or anything like that.
No.
Who was the letter addressed to?
Me.
To you. That's crazy. Did it have do you know who sent it to you?
That was a pretty good idea. But, We'll talk about it later, either, you would like to, I will definitely, I just don't know if I'm gonna get back here in time for them to.
Whoever sent you the letter, sent you, an anonymous letter. Did they sign it? So someone showed up, was it like by a process server?
That's what I did was.
It wasn't. Where did they come to you at?
When I walked out of the building, and they were out, and I put that both driveways at the right time.
Right?
And I walked in about 5 feet from pressing the button so that I could cross the street, because that's very,
Right?
and just to get that on the sidewalk. Yes. Okay, Steve, so you say that.
So let's talk about this call.
You ask your mom after she tells you to bring cash, is someone blackmailing you? And she says it's a good possibility. Now, what are you thinking?
I'm starting to evaluate, I still don't have an idea, but I was extorted 21 months earlier. So I'm starting to evaluate, is it related to that, or what could it be?
And are you growing more concerned?
Very, yeah.
And you ask her who the letter was addressed to. Why do you ask her that?
Because I was the one who was extorted 21 months earlier. I had no idea why they'd be going to my mom. If it
Now,
was related to me.
You then mentioned the possibility of seeing your mom tonight, and she doesn't want to see you tonight. Why doesn't she want to see you?
Because she's watching the boys, and she didn't want Wendy to ask her, where were you? And have to tell her, or what's going on.
Now, again, I thought, according to the state's theory, Wendy is a co-conspirator in this case, right?
That's part of the theory.
Now, you then say on this, is the person threatening you or anything? Why are you asking that?
Because on the night of the 18th, I was told if you don't pay in 48 hours, you're going to get killed. So I was trying to compare it to what happened to me to see if, is this related to what happened to me?
You later tell her that your advice to her is going to be to go to the police. Why would your advice to her to be to go to the police at this point in time?
Because I don't think it's related to what happened to me. When I asked my mom, are they threatening you? She was like, well, maybe. You never know how to interpret these things. And like, it was very clear what the threat was to me on the 18th. So like, okay, then it's something unrelated to at that level of seriousness. Maybe it's something involving code enforcement or OSHA or somebody messing with them. So I was just like, all right, just go to the police.
Now, towards the end of the call, you say it wouldn't be the first time I'm being threatened. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
What were you referring to?
When I was extorted 21 months earlier, I was threatened. So I was trying to compare it to that to see, is it possibly related to what happened to me?
At the end of this call, do you know what is going on yet?
No, I don't know what's going on yet.
Let's go to the third call, which is 12 minutes later. And this is C.
This is at 3:00 p.m. between you and your mom.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, sorry about that. Quick question for you. Well, one thing I was going to tell you is obviously don't talk about things in the apartment or any place.
Oh, obviously.
The other thing is, was the person black, white, Hispanic?
What?
And they just came up to you and they said your name and you piece of paper?
No, no, didn't hand it right away. First spoke to me for a while and then handed it to me.
Really?
Mhm.
And they wearing hats, sunglasses, or?
No, nothing. Nothing. Describe them to a T.
What's that? You could describe them to a T.
No, nothing.
Was the person nervous or were they angry or?
No, calm as could be. Totally calm.
That's really crazy. Are they trying to ask for money or something?
Yeah.
But if someone trying to, I mean, listen, if it's something like that, it sounds probably like go to the police, but
And they have to, but they'd rather talk to you first and then.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, there's scumbags out there all the time that try to do stuff like that.
Oh, I know.
So,
That's why. Just let me know. Because I don't want, not your father upset.
don't say anything to dad until I take a look at it, because dad's live off
Absolutely. Absolutely.
on everything.
That's what I suggested, after he goes to work tomorrow.
Did the person give you any kind of like time frame or anything?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
It's clear what's wrong with it.
What is it, kind of exactly what they asked for?
I don't know, the TV is probably about 5.
They asked you for $5,000?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hey,
And then she, girlfriend. Hi, Sandra, come on in. Good, how are you? Okay.
that's crazy. Let me take a look at it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll go from there.
Your turn. Lincoln going first. Okay, do that one. Yeah.
Now, in the 12 minutes before this call, had you started to put the pieces together and figure out what was going on a little bit?
A little bit. I was thinking about the first call and the second call, and the more I thought about it, I thought this is related to what happened to me. Somehow this is related to it.
And what does your attention shift to in the very beginning of this call?
I wanted to compare it to what happened to me 21 months earlier to see are these the same people that are doing this?
And so the first question you ask, were they black, white, or Hispanic? Why do you ask that question?
Because I always suspected that it was Sigfredo that did it. I mean, process in my head, that was my first guess, and that's what I would have guessed it was. When I met him, he was an angry guy, and I was trying to see, is this somebody fitting his description that's maybe coming to my mom and doing this?
Why do you ask her? Did they give you a time frame?
Because that night I was told you got 48 hours to pay up. I'm trying to compare it to, is this person telling my mom you got 48 hours to pay up?
Now, she says no, but it is clear what is wanted. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then she says, this TV is probably about 5. Now, before we get there, in the very start of the call, you say, don't talk about anything in the apartment or any place.
Sure.
Why do you say that to your mom?
Well, that was one of the first things I told her when I told her what had happened to me when I got extorted and was picking up the checks from her, is to never talk about it with anybody, not talk about it on the phone, don't talk in the apartment, is that there's always a chance that the police are listening.
And what would you be afraid the police were listening to if you didn't do a murder?
I never wanted anyone to know I was extorted.
why didn't you want the police to know you were extorted? What would happen if the police knew you were extorted?
They would come talk to me.
And what would happen if they came and talked to you? What did you think would happen at that point?
If they came to talk to me, if I decided to talk to them, I'd have to tell them what happened to me. And if I told them what happened to me, my life would be in danger. These people would come find me. They'd find someone in my family. I mean, they don't care.
Now, going back to the TV comment where she says, this TV is probably about 5. Did you have code words with your mom that TV, I think they said, do you have that sheet what TV equals? Did TV, was it a code word?
There is absolutely no code word involving TV whatsoever.
Now, by the way,
But
your
it was there.
response,
Because it was
Is
this
it-
TV is
no, it's an
5.
air conditioner. Your response is they want $5,000. Was there any code there?
Not at all. I just wanted to clarify what was being said to me, to repeat it back.
Your mom then brings up
I
that
seriously need a BS button.
brought up an ex-girlfriend. Do you remember that?
I do.
Now, Ms. Kappelman, in her cross-examinations, went through how you had several ex-girlfriends after Katie Magbanua. You recall that?
I do.
Did any of your other ex-girlfriends become involved in a situation where you were extorted?
I only had one ex-girlfriend whose friends extorted me.
So once she brings up your ex-girlfriend, did you have a pretty good idea of what was going on?
Oh, I knew exactly what was going on at this point. Well, almost exactly what was going on.
By the way, also during this call, you again remind your mom not to say anything to your father, right?
Yes, I did.
At the end of this call, what do you decide to do?
I'm going to give Katie a call.
And why are you going to reach out to Katie?
I want to see if her friends extorting my mom that she knows of, because she sure knew what had happened to me.
We're going to now publish D, Your Honor, already in evidence.
You may.
And this is a call between you and Catherine Magbanua at 4:27 p.m. on that same day, correct?
Yes.
You want to use your headphones?
Hello?
Hey, what's going on?
What's up?
No, are you someplace you can talk to me?
So what?
Are you any place that you can talk to me?
Talking now.
What's that?
Just talk right now. Just talk.
Okay, can you go somewhere that's not loud when I'm talking to you?
I can't. It's like loud, like I can't get out.
Okay, I'm trying to walk outside and talk to you right now. I can't even fucking get outside. All right, wait, I don't know. All right, somebody, hang on, okay?
Mhm.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear.
Okay, I just want you to listen to me. I'll be able to talk to you first when I see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I don't know what's going on,
Mhm.
but my mom walked the kids. I only heard part of the story,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna go down there and talk to her tomorrow to find out what's going on.
Okay.
She didn't want to elaborate,
Uh-huh.
but she said that someone approached her on the street,
Uh-huh.
called her by name,
Mm-hmm.
handed her an envelope with something in it,
Yeah.
and somebody was. She really wouldn't go into detail, and listen, I have no idea what this is in reference to,
Uh-huh.
but something regarding her son, something regarding his ex-girlfriend, and the person asking my mom for some money.
What?
Yeah. So I said, well, yeah. I'm like, first what she was saying, I thought it was like something involved in the IRS or taking
Yeah.
or something like that. So I don't even know what the fuck it's about at all.
So somebody just like bumped into your mom like that?
Well, they came up to her on the street after she dropped the kids off at school. I guess she brought them to school. I don't even know. But they must know her routine. They must know who she is.
Yeah.
They walked up to her. They called her by name. They
Uh-huh.
handed her an envelope.
Uh-huh.
And she said they spoke to her for a few minutes. And then she said they were making reference to my ex-girlfriend. I have no fucking clue what that's about.
Yeah.
And then they explained that they needed to be paid for money.
For what?
I don't even know if my mom doesn't even want to talk to me on the phone. But look,
But like, did she see the person? Was she like, you should have like,
oh yeah,
asked her something?
that's what I said. There's someone's going to try to blackmail you or something.
Exactly,
Right.
right, running you like that.
I said, you got to go straight to the police. She's like, I don't even know what this is about. I don't want to talk about it. I go, well, take a picture and send me what it is. She's like, I just want you to see the person. So I'm going to go there. I can't even fucking go there today because I won't get out of work until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So she's like, just,
So somebody's like stalking your mom?
I don't even fucking know. I don't know what's going on, what my mom's involved. I mean, you didn't do anything with my mom. I mean, yeah.
What is going on?
Let me pause it right there. You say, and I quote, I mean, you didn't do anything with my mom.
I did say that.
What were you asking her?
Are your friends extorting my mom that you know of? Are they up to this?
Now, during this call, you say, I have no idea what this is in reference to. Why do you say that to Katie?
I'm calling her up and talking about something that she'd asked me to never talk about. And I never planned on talking about it. So I wanted to let her know that I wasn't setting her up and that I needed her help. That's why I was calling her up.
And you make reference to an ex-girlfriend, but you're kind of wishy-washy whether she's the ex-girlfriend. Why?
Because I was implying it was her, but I didn't want her to feel like I was setting her up.
She says to you, when you say, I mean, you didn't do anything with my mom. She says, what would I do with your mom? And you say, just checking.
Yep.
Katie seems surprised on this call.
Very.
How did that make you feel?
That made me feel good. It made me feel like it wasn't her friends that were doing it. I mean, she knew when it happened last time. She definitely wasn't acting surprised.
What was your level of concern at this point in time?
I was probably medium. I mean, I was still pretty concerned. My mom didn't sound right on the phone.
Now, there's a call that occurs after this call that is not in evidence, where Katie calls you back. Do you recall what Katie wanted you to do when she called you back?
She wanted me to go down there that night to see my parents.
And did she seem very concerned?
She was extremely concerned when she called me back.
Did you go to see your mom that night?
No, I finished work probably after 10, and I went down there the next afternoon.
Okay, so let's talk about the next day. So just to be clear, the bump happens and these calls happen on April 19th, 2016, right?
Yes.
We're now at April 20th. Where did you meet your mom?
I met her in the lobby of the building.
And did you go anywhere with her?
Yeah, we went for a short walk and ended up sitting on a bench.
What time approximately did you get to Miami and see your mom?
I'd say like 1:30ish,
Okay. Why did you meet her then?
because she wanted to wait for my dad to go to work.
Where did when you walked to this bench, it's outside of a restaurant called Monty's, right? Not far from a restaurant called Monty's.
Yeah, it's right next to Monty's, actually.
Did you notice anyone following you?
No,
As you sit here today, do you know that you were being followed?
today I did. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think State's Exhibit 54 is put in evidence. It's a picture of you and your mom on that bench outside of Monty's. Is that a fair depiction of where you were?
Yeah, we were sitting.
There's been testimony, I think, by Special Agent Sanford that you and your mom were whispering or trying not to be heard. Is that testimony true?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted some privacy for sure.
And how was your mom acting?
She was very scared.
What did she tell you?
Well, she told me that she went to go pick the boys up from school and that this really big guy came over to her and said that you've been helping out Katie and Tuto, and my brother Tato is going through a hard time and he's incarcerated. And my brother Tato did a big favor for you and you need to do what's right. You need to take care of my brother Tato. My mom's like, I don't know what you're talking about. The guy handed her a copy of an article and it had $5,000 written on it. And it also had a cell phone written on it.
At this point in time, did you have any clue whatsoever who Tato was?
No, I've never heard of Tato in my life.
Okay, so let me make sure that we're all on the same page. You knew who Tuto was, right?
Tuto is Sigfredo Garcia.
But you had no idea of anyone named Tato or Luis Rivera, correct?
Never heard of that name before.
Did your mom show you the paper that was given to her?
Yes, she did.
Do you recall if you took the paper with you or whether you wrote down the phone number from the paper?
I don't know whether I took the paper with me or I just took a piece of paper and wrote the phone number down to the paper. One of the two, but I did have the number with me when I left.
Now, at this point in time, when you're meeting with your mom, what was she concerned about?
I mean, she was concerned that she was going to get hurt and that they were going to hurt her and then someone else in the family was going to pay. And she wanted to go to the police.
What did you tell your mom in response? What was your theory at this point in time?
I was telling my mom this is so different than what happened to me. I said, it could actually, I was actually thinking it could have been Sigfredo Garcia because
Could you
him and Katie
imagine
were in this
if
explosive fight.
they
and I
would have
was
been
suspected
able
that it
to
was
get
him.
video and
Yeah.
audio on that meeting?
He's now
Wow.
extorting my mom, and that's what it was. So I thought it could be that. That scared my mom a lot. But then I said, you know what, this is probably the police. I said it's, they're not telling you 48 hours or you're going to get killed. They're not hiding who they are for the first, even at that point, I only suspected Sigfredo. This guy's not even hiding who he is. He's not wearing a hat. He's not wearing glasses. He's not trying to conceal himself. The first time I wasn't given a cell phone number. This time they're giving cell phone numbers. They're giving names. They're giving all this information. I'm like, Mom, I think this is the police.
What did you tell your mom you were going to do?
I told her that I was going to go ahead and go talk to Katie and see if she thinks that this is possibly, if this is Sigfredo, who I was suspected, And if it is, see if she could get him to stop.
Now, did your mom during this meeting tell you anything about your dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did she say?
She was really worried that her safety was an issue now, and my dad's with her all the time, and she's like, look, I know you don't want me to say anything to dad, but I have to say something to him. Like this has gone too far. I can't not. So I told her, I said, if you tell him, you got to promise not to say anything to Wendy. Please do not let him go to the police. Like this is you're gonna put my life at risk. You're gonna put your life at risk. Like, let me just figure out if Katie could get these people to stop, if she's related to them somehow, and identify them and get them to
If
stop.
this was a true
Why were you
threat, the
so
police
adamant
would
that
have
they not
helped.
tell Wendy?
I thought Wendy would go to the police, and I thought my dad would too, but my mom
She
swore that
already
get him not
did.
to go.
What did you tell
Oh
your
my
mom
God.
about
People.
what you would do with your dad after she told him?
I said, after you tell dad what's going on, I said, I'll be happy to have him come over to my house, or I'll meet him. I'm sure he's going to have a whole bunch of questions, and I'll talk to dad tomorrow.
Now, after you left your mom, what did you do next?
I left, and then I drove up to see Katie. She was probably working she was working for a real estate company, and it was about 15 minutes away from my parents' place.
And I think we heard the calls. I'm not going to play them again. Did you call her to find out the address and where to meet her?
I got the address, and then I called her again as I was pulling into the plaza because I'd never been there before, and she walked out of the office that she was working at.
Okay. Now, when you got to her, by the way, where she was working, was it in a strip mall?
Yes.
When you got there, where was she?
She was standing in front of the I think it was Optimar Realty. She had just come outside so she could wave me down.
And did you go straight into the restaurant, or did something happen before you went into the restaurant later?
She walked over to the car. I pulled up into a parking spot. She walked over to the car. I wanted to talk to her, so I said, hop in the car. I need to talk to you.
Now, did you know that you were being followed?
No, not at all.
When she got in the car, what did you learn and what happened?
Well, she asked me what happened to my mom, and I told her, and I said, do you think this is T? I said, well, I said, was T behind what happened to me? And she looked at me, she said, yes.
And what did you ask her about the information your mom had received when she was approached on the street?
I asked her if she thought that this was T. Do you think he's doing this to my mom? Because you guys are fighting. Like a week or so earlier, they had this explosive fight because she saw his phone and some girl was sending her text messages of a tattoo that she just got at like 3 a.m. So they were like breaking up. And now that my mom's getting extorted and she's having a fight with him, I'm suspecting that it's him.
Do you bring up the name Tato?
Yes.
What happened when you brought up the name Tato?
I said, have you ever heard of some guy Tato? Like, I thought it was a joke that there's a Tuto and a Tato. Like, have you ever heard of Tato? And she started talking.
What did she say?
She said, yeah, I know Tato. Tato is Tuto's best friend. And she said, he's a bad dude. He's the head of the Latin Kings. She said, they went up to Tallahassee, and he's the one who rented a car, and he's the one who did this to Dan. And off my head's like, I'm freaking out because this is the guy that's now extorting my mom. And I'm like, Katie, is this guy incarcerated? Like, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, does he have brothers? She said he's got 4 or 5 brothers, but he's got a couple hundred brothers in the Latin Kings in Miami.
Let's stop there for a second. So why did
And
you
there he
ask her
goes.
if he was incarcerated?
Because the guy who came up to my mom said, my brother Tato is incarcerated. He's going through a hard time. And he needs your help. You need to take care of him the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuto.
Now, when Katie is telling you that there is a Tato, that he's the head of the Latin Kings, that he's incarcerated, and you know he has brothers, what starts going through your mind?
Holy shit, this is real. Like this is real extortion, and it's happening again.
This
What
is
does
real.
Katie
First one
tell
wasn't,
you
but this is
about
real.
what happened in Tallahassee and who did what?
She told me that T was high on drugs and got fast food. And
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second just to make it clear to the jury. I'm going to ask you, I know she used their nicknames.
Yeah.
Okay. Make that clear. But for the purposes of today, let's use their names so
Okay.
that there's no confusion. Okay.
So
I understand in the car she used nicknames, either Tato, Tuto, or T. But just for the purposes of today, use their names.
Sure.
Okay. What did she tell you about who did what in Tallahassee?
She said that Sigafredo was high on drugs at the hotel, and that Luis Rivera was the one who shot Dan.
Now, did she tell you that Tato was also behind your extortion or no?
She said that Sigfredo brought him to go do this, and that it was he got paid, but it was the extorter was Sigfredo.
Did she describe to you, you said she described to you about a rental car. Did she describe to you anything about the payments the next day?
Yes,
What did she tell you?
she said when she brought the money, she met up with them and she gave the money to Sigfredo and him, and that she didn't touch any of it, and that she didn't take a single dime for herself or anything like that.
Now, when you're hearing this in
This
the
is
car, by the way,
just
how
so
long do you think you were in the
unbelievable.
car for?
Like, honestly,
10 to 15 minutes, probably closer to 10.
How are you feeling? And what do you now want to do when you're in the car? You've just told your mom that you think it's the police, that it's all going to be okay. Now you've heard that there is a real Tato. How are you feeling, and what are you thinking about doing at this point in time?
I'm freaking out because I thought it was Sigfredo. Then I'm hearing all this stuff about this guy Tato, his name is Luis Rivera. Everything seeming real. I was extorted. Now my mom's getting extorted. Katie's telling me she doesn't think it's Tato or his people. He wouldn't do it like this. He would have done it the way it happened to me. She's telling me that she thinks it's a copycat of one of Tato's, someone who knows Tato and is doing a copycat on him and doing their own extortion, or it's probably, she thinks it's the police.
Now, how is she acting in the car?
She's upset. She's very upset.
And you've told her that they used her name, correct? What do you decide to do after she tells you this bombshell information?
Well, I mean, I have more questions than answers. When I got done talking to her in the car, I was more confused than ever. I had told my mom, I'm going to talk to Katie and see if her friend is behind this and if she can get him to stop. And now it's like open the door to all these other possibilities and scenarios of what it could be and what to do. So Katie was the only person on the planet that I could talk to about this and see if I could try to get it to stop. So I said, Katie, you want to go inside and get some coffee? And I thought I'd be able to talk to her more and try to see what are we supposed to do.
Now, we know you like to talk. How about when you're scared and trying to figure things out?
I mean, I was freaking out. And I'm trying to figure things out by talking out different scenarios out loud, thinking if it's this, we do this, or if we do this, what'll happen, or if we do this,
He
what'll happen.
seems more
That's why it's a
comfortable when he's
lot of it's very
allowed
jumbled
to
up
tell a
because I'm
story.
all over the place.
Okay. So you decide to go inside and get coffee. Katie agrees with you. And is that when you go into the restaurant called, and I always I pronounce it wrong, Your Honor, I'm sorry, Dolce Vita?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When you went into the restaurant, who did you think was behind it? Well, let me start by saying something else. You seen the audio of you in that restaurant, right? With Katie.
Yes.
Before that audio started, had you met with Katie in the restaurant for about 20 or 30 minutes?
We've been in there about a half hour talking.
So that audio doesn't capture anything in the beginning of your conversation, right?
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the beginning of the conversation. Obviously, it's many years ago. You're not going to remember word for word what was said. But generally, what was Katie telling you and what were you telling Katie?
Katie was saying that it's the police. And I didn't care if it was the police. I was there because it was a bad guy. So I'm trying to figure out, like, is my family really in danger and what should we do? And if they are in danger, what should we do?
Did you know that law enforcement at some point in the conversation started to record you?
No, I thought we were alone.
Now, your conversation with Katie in the restaurant, how were you talking? Were you talking freely or carefully?
No, I always spoke to Katie carefully.
Why was it so important for you to talk carefully to Katie in this restaurant?
Whenever I spoke to Katie, I needed her help. So I never wanted her to feel like I was trying to set her up or set her friends up, and in that regard. So every time I said something or phrased something, I was always really careful in how I spoke to her.
And again, at this point in time, did you have any clue whatsoever that Katie was part of the extortion of you?
No, I did not think she was ever a part of it.
Now, the first thing that is caught on the recording is if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
What were you saying here, and what was it in context to of what had been said before?
Okay, directly before that, Katie was talking about it being the police and that she thinks it's the police. And I'm like, it's fine if it's the police. Like, we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence. Like, if we had anything to do with this, I'd be going to the airport right now. What you're saying is that it's the police. Like, they're not going to have evidence.
And
to
that's
show that
what
we did
Mommy
something that we
did.
didn't do.
Charlie, without getting into all the details that I did with Agent Sanford, this communication at Dolce Vita happened in 2016. You were arrested in 2022. When did you know that the state thought that you had participated in the murder of Professor Markell?
When the probable cause affidavit was released.
And when was that affidavit released approximately?
I think it was leaked to the media, and I saw it in August of 2016.
Did you ever try to flee the country
Never.
after August 2016?
Never.
Why not?
Because I wasn't part of a murder. They weren't going to have any evidence to show I was part of a murder.
Now, you say during Dolce Vita, one second, Your Honor, I'm sorry, lost my spot. Is Dolce Vita a bit of an argument between you and Katie?
Yeah, you can say that.
And what is the argument about?
She's taking the position that it's the police and you can't pay the police. And I wasn't as focused on the police as I was focused on, well, if it's a bad guy, what do we do? Like, we can't go to the police.
Why were you not focused on it being the police?
Because I didn't do a murder. I wasn't worried if it was the police.
Now, if it was a bad guy, what did you want her to do? What did you want Katie to do?
I wanted her to reach out to them and see if she could get them to stop. You know, maybe threaten them. Maybe she could pay them. Maybe she could tell them she's going to pay them. It's a one-time thing. I want to see if she could identify them and get them to stop.
Why did you want her to do that as opposed to you doing that?
She knew who the original people were. She knew Sigfredo. She knew this guy, Luis Rivera, and she'd be the only person who'd be able to identify them and get them to stop, and maybe they'd be afraid of her.
Now, throughout this recording, several times you try to sound tough. Is that the case?
Absolutely.
You say, I carry a gun on me, right?
Yes, I said that.
I mean, someone comes up to me. If someone comes up to me, they better be ready to shoot because I'm going to shoot them. Someone come up to me asking for money in my house. When the fucking police show up and there's a doctor, there's an oral surgeon standing there with a dead gang member in his fucking driveway, they're not going to come down too hard on me. I'll take a break right there. Why are you talking tough?
I want to let her know, like, I've had enough. Like, and you know, they're messing with my mom. They messed with me. Like, I've literally just had enough, and I'm trying to send that message.
Why do you bring up a gang member?
Because 45 minutes earlier, when I was sitting in the car with Katie, she told me that Luis Rivera was the head of the Latin Kings, and that's who the second extortion was, a Latin King gang member who was extorting my parents, which was actually the FBI, but it was.
Immediately after you say those lines, though, you say, and I'm not going to talk anyway. Why do you say that? You're being tough, and then you say, and I'm not going to talk anyway.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because I didn't want to scare her into thinking that I'm some kind of loose end, that at any point was I going to the police. I was making it clear that at no point I was going to the police.
Of course not.
You then say, Katie, this is not like some chick showing tattoos to your man. What are you talking about here?
That was in reference to their explosive fight that would send her and Sigfredo in opposite directions, and I was thinking that he was behind what had happened to my mom. I thought he was just sending a third party to collect.
And what are you trying to tell Katie to do?
I'm telling her to call this person and to contact them and see if she could get them to stop.
Now, you then say, they're not going away. I may wish they'd go away, but they're not going away. And then there's a bunch of unintelligibles, and there's a line that says that you say, well, with a beard or a badge. Do you have any idea what you were talking about there?
I think we were talking about, is it a police officer or a bad guy?
And again, well, who would be the beard?
The beard would be a bad guy.
And who again was Katie trying to convince you it was?
She was trying to convince me it's the police.
Now, we've seen this conversation live, although we can't hear all of it.
There was so much roundabout talking, so many words that mean this now, but words something else. It's so messy. Like I always keep saying, for very smart people, like well-educated people, this was just so messy. Like, did they think they were, I don't know, like these crime family that, was so insulated by governors or senators, or like, do they really think this of themselves? Because this is messy, from paper trail to all of it, like these wiretap, these phone calls, and it's just crazy, too messy. And when it's too messy, there's something, that's for sure.
Are you doing more of the talking or more of the listening?
I'm doing the thinking out loud than talking.
You're not really listening to her at all, right?
No.
This is going to be a
You
longer
again
video
say,
because we're getting
"Listen,
finished with Daniel
If a
Rashbaum.
badge comes
I
up to
can't
you, tell
anymore.
them, have a nice day, officer. And she says, yeah, no, perfect. You say, if not, I don't talk to cops. Sorry. And she says, yeah, no, perfect. What are you saying to Katie here?
I'm reassuring her that I'm keeping my mouth shut and I'm not going to the police and I'm not trying to set her up. But I wanted her to see if maybe make a payment.
Now, you say this person is not, this is after her long unintelligible. You say, well, Katie, this person is not going away. They came very equipped with details. What details are you talking about here?
They know about my payment to her with the checks. They know about the payment.
You then go on a bunch of long discussions about DNA in a rental car. Why do you bring up a rental car?
Because 40 minutes earlier, I was sitting in a car with her and she was telling me that Luis Rivera rented a car.
And during these long discussions, you're talking about how you don't really know anything. You, Charlie, doesn't really know anything. Why are you telling her repeatedly that you don't know anything?
I'm trying to reassure her that I'm harmless and that I don't have any real knowledge of what went on, and that, you know, I'm not some loose end that you guys need to go try to clean up.
Now, you then say they said the guy's name was Tuto. I don't even know who the fuck it is. Did you know who Tuto was?
I knew who Tuto was.
Was this you confusing the names Tuto and Tato?
That's exactly what it was. I was getting the names mixed up.
And she asks you to describe what he looked like, right?
Yes.
And you say, some of it's unintelligible, but you say, well-spoken, like polite. She goes, polite and well-spoken. I said, did he act thug, or did he have talk with like a thick Spanish accent or anything? She said, no. I said, was he white or Hispanic? She said he was white, but he could have been Hispanic. Why were these facts important to you and Katie?
Because I was comparing the original extortion that I had to the person that's extorting my mom to see if they fit the description.
And she says, so recognizable. And you say, with no glasses, no hat, very well dressed. And she says, well dressed? As you're talking about this, what are the both of you trying to figure out?
We're trying to figure out, is this related to, is this real extortion or is this the police?
And what is Katie telling you of why she doesn't think this is real extortion and why she thinks it's the police?
Because of how it's being done. And these people wouldn't do it this way. But it still opened up the door to her where she said it could be a copycat and somebody just trying to piggyback the extortion and make it their own.
Now, you say to her every time she's telling you it's the police, you kind of push back. Why do you push back?
The whole purpose of me being there with her was not to hear if it was the police. I needed her help if it wasn't the police.
10 minutes and 28 seconds into the recording, not the meeting, but the recording. The following thing is what you say. They didn't mention my name, which makes me think that these people only know part of the story, or they think they know part of the story. What are you telling Katie here?
I'm saying they didn't mention my name. They don't even know I was extorted, and that they only know part of the story. They know about the checks that my mom was writing to you, or they think they know part of the story. They don't realize that that was payment for an extortion, not payment for a murder.
So whoever's doing this thinks that you did a murder because they don't know that you were extorted.
Exactly.
And by the way, isn't that exactly what the bump is?
The bump is an extortion.
But isn't the bump designed in a
There's
way
still a lot of papers in
that
that
they thought
binder,
you were
people.
did it part of a murder, and the responses they got, they didn't understand because they only knew part of the story.
That's exactly it.
You then say, when everybody was there the next day, did you take any money? It's not like you're driving around in a Bentley, cruising around in a mega yacht. Someone, he must at some point, because otherwise he would have no idea I had anything to do with. First of all, remind the jury, how did you know what happened on July 19th, and when did you learn that?
In July 19th, July 18th.
How did you know about the money drop? Let me ask that question.
Okay. Katie told me that the next day she brought the money to Luis and Sigfredo Garcia.
When did she tell you that?
She told me that in the car 30 minutes earlier.
Now, when you're asking this question, who is the everybody that you are referring to?
Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera.
What are you confirming here and why?
That she's not a part of it. I mean, she's broke. I was being sarcastic when I'm like, you're not cruising around in a mega yacht or driving a Bentley. Like, her card's getting declined at Old Navy, and she's borrowing $300 from me. So I didn't think she was a part of it. I didn't think at the time that she took any of that money. So that's why I said it like that, is that you didn't take any of the money next day. And they're saying that, like, I'm helping you out. So I'm thinking that, like, Sigfredo must have said something to Luis about the little things that I do to help you out with, lending you money. I gave her a car with 160,000 miles on it. Sigfredo must have said something to Luis, and then maybe one of his people is now trying to extort my family.
And in response, what does she say to you? Who does she say it is?
She thinks it's the police.
And so then you say to her, it could, I wish that it was a cop playing games. Why did you wish it was a cop playing games?
Because then it meant that my mom wasn't being extorted by Latin King gang members.
You say, and I'm not involved. You recall saying that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you specifically mention the word extortion in Dolce Vita? Why didn't you say, Katie, why are these the same people that did to me? These are the same people that are doing this to my mom that did it to me back in July of 2014. Why didn't you just say that in this recording?
I was being real careful when I spoke to Katie. I would never say the word extortion to her.
Why not?
I would get zero help and she'd think I was setting her up.
And what were you
Probably
most
killed.
concerned about at this point in time?
I was most concerned about the gang member that's now extorting my mom, and also about trying to get Katie to help me to stop it.
Again, you say, if it's a cop, I'm happy because I've got nothing to hide. You say that at least 3 times. Why do you tell her that?
Because she keeps on saying that it's the police. And I'm not worried about if it's the police. I'm worried about if it's a gang member and that's coming after my mom.
And as she's pushing back that she doesn't want to make the payment or reach out to the person, you then bring up it's going to put a spotlight in the investigation. You start talking about the FBI and BBC News. First of all, what investigation are you talking about?
The murder investigations of Dan Markel.
And why are you trying to tell Katie that this is going to put a spotlight on this investigation? What are you why are you trying to tell her that?
I'm trying to tell her that this is a big deal. Like if we go to the police on the second extortion, they're going to catch the second extortion. And when they catch them, they're going to turn and the second extortion is going to turn in the first extortion. And then when you catch the first extortion, the police are going to come talk to us. And then when we tell them what happened, you're going to be in a lot of danger. There's no way I can talk to the police. So by catching the second, it's going to turn in the first. And that's exactly what I say in there.
Now, you tell her that you want her to give the guy the money, right?
Yes.
And she, again, what's her reaction to that?
She's like, you can't pay the cops. They're going to arrest you. They're going to think you're a part of it.
And so then you give a long-winded explanation of what she can say that won't incriminate herself, right?
Or make the police come talk to her. So I was saying, just tell them that you don't know anything.
Again, what are you trying to convince her to do?
Make a payment.
Still there.
And she's refusing, right?
Yeah.
You say, that's all I was able to come up with. If it's the police, they can't take the money. They can't take the money. They won't even come meet you. If it's this guy, maybe in the back of he knows unintelligible, fuck off, unintelligible, and that now he's fucking with his wife, and if he's fucking with him, you fuck with the king himself. You
Okay,
better kill him
Daniel.
because he's going to be a big problem. What are you trying to say to her here?
I'm saying that maybe if you go and contact these people, they're going to know who you are. And they're going to realize they'll know that your husband is Sigfredo Garcia. Sigfredo is about as scary of a guy as you can meet. And if Sigfredo has a problem with you, the only thing you could do to stop Sigfredo if he wants to come after you is to kill Sigfredo. So I wasn't talking about killing him, but I was saying if he knows who you are, he's going to be a big problem. So the only way they could stop Sigfredo is if they killed him, because he's a dangerous guy.
And is that precisely why you wanted her to be contacting this person?
Yeah, because they would know who her husband is. They would cut it out.
You then say, and so help me God, if they fuck with my family, it's going to be like that Nazi shit because this will be done. Who used that terminology with you?
That was an expression that Katie would use. She would say like this Nazi shit, like to go crazy on somebody. And that was a term that she would use. And I used it back to her. And it meant, I was saying like, listen, like I'm trying to sound tough also. So I said, listen, I'm going to get somebody to go crazy on this person and get them to stop. Like this needs to end.
You say, I don't care what I have to spend. Ms. Kappelman asked one of the witnesses, aren't you admitting to doing a murder for hire here?
Absolutely not. I'm saying that I'll get somebody to act and go crazy on who's ever doing this and get them to stop.
Just
I mean,
like you did
I'm not a
Sigfredo.
scary guy like Sigfredo Garcia is. So I was trying to sound intimidating.
You then,
Just like he did when it came to Danny. He went and got somebody scarier and paid them to take care of the situation up north. So he's just admitted he's willing to pay somebody to take care of the situation. Oh, this man. Honestly, I don't. Do they not understand what's coming out of their mouths? Like, I get it. This was in November last year. We're gearing up for Donna to go to trial. And I've already watched these. I can't even count how many times I've watched these Charlie Adelson trial, and I'm a new channel, so I'm trying to, just get ready for Donna. So I figured while I'm reviewing them again, I might as well review them publicly. But all these people do my head in. Seriously. Okay, I'm going to try not to stop it because we are still we're still in this. We're still in this, people. We're down that rabbit hole.
say he doesn't have any bad feelings towards me, does he? Our paths never cross. I didn't know that the two of you would be working out. Why do you ask this?
Because I'm saying, like, I've been compliant. I've been paying every single month. It's not like I didn't do anything to him. I was still thinking maybe it could be him that's doing this, as I was saying it.
Now, in the video, you see Katie leaving the table for a bit, right?
Yes.
She leaves for about 2 minutes. And what happens when she leaves before she comes back?
It's probably the first 2 minutes in the last 45 or 50 minutes that I stopped talking and just sat there and started thinking about everything that we've been talking about.
And as you're sitting there and thinking about it, what goes through your mind? What do you realize?
I just started thinking again about how different this is, and that the person's not hiding who they are. There's no, I'm going to kill you in 48 hours. They're giving lots of information. This is not the same people.
When she comes back, you give her the number, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember if you gave her a piece of paper, or if do you have any recollection of whether you gave her a piece of paper or she wrote down the number, or do you have any idea, any memory this many years later?
No, I think I may have just said it to her verbally or given her paper. I don't remember sitting here today.
Okay. And then you immediately start talking.
He doesn't remember if he gave Katie a paper or if he just verbally said the number, but he remembers certain phone calls, certain days, and actual timestamp, but he can't remember that. This just blows my mind. I really need a sound effect that says BS.
About how the guy didn't have glasses or a hat.
Actually, dear God, if I did have
Why
sound
was
effects,
that
no,
the
I'd probably
first thing that you started talking to her
I would
about
lose
when
my
she
mind.
came back?
Because I was thinking, like, for 2 years, I had no idea nothing was confirmed and the identity was hidden. It was just her friend. Now all of a sudden, this guy
I had a
shows up
button
and
that
he's
was
not
liar,
even
be liar,
taking the
liar, liar,
precaution
liar,
of
liar, liar.
trying to hide his identity. He has no problem showing his face.
And at this point in time, when she comes back, who do you think is behind this?
I'm coming around to her way of thinking that it's probably the police and a small chance that it's some sort of copycat, but more than likely it's just the police. It's the police.
What do you ask her to do?
I still ask her to call the number just in the chance that, like, hey, if I'm wrong and it's not the police and it turns out to be somebody that really is dangerous, like I'm betting my mom's life on it being the police. So at least just call and make it so for that peace of mind that we confirm it is what we think it is.
At the end of the recording, you see that you're actually joking about something.
Mhm.
How do you feel at the end of your meeting with her in Dolce Vita?
I feel much better. I mean, I'm back to the way I started when I came out there, is that I was thinking it was probably the police, and I felt even more likely it was the police after I got done with meeting with her.
But that just shows you how narcissist these people are. He realizes it's the police. And he doesn't go nowhere. He doesn't run. He doesn't
Now-
do anything.
When you repeatedly
He's
say
untouchable.
during this recording that you hope it's the police, did you understand that if it was the police, they thought they would be thinking that you were part of a murder?
Correct.
So why were you hoping it was the police?
Well, I wasn't part of a murder. And if it was the police, it meant there was no danger. Nobody's going to get hurt. And there's no danger to anyone in my family.
I just want to point something out here. At the beginning of his testimony, of him testifying, that courtroom was packed. This is the same day. Now, I've broke it down because it's bloody long. It's like over 9.5 hours long. And we're 6 hours into this, and it's thinning out. People are so sick of hearing him. Honestly, Daniel Rashbaum, listen, he might be a good lawyer. He might not be a good lawyer. I am not going to weigh in. I think if I had to weigh in and it was just straight my opinion, oh my God, this guy is dreadful. He's boring. There's no excitement, no life, no nothing. It's just blah, 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 blah. Like, he's putting the jury to sleep. He's putting me to sleep. He's put Phil Markel to sleep. He's put a gentleman behind the defense table asleep. Like, this is dreadful. And guess what? We have to go through another trial of Daniel Rashbaum. Oh, I can't even. But, hey, he's got Donna's like a pseudo mother to him. So maybe he's going to come out with more passion. Maybe he's going to be more, I don't want to say dramatic, because sometimes he starts yelling and for no reason. It makes no sense. Like, it's weird. But, oh my God. Come on, Daniel. Please finish.
Judge, I'm going to move on to another topic.
Before you do that, members of the jury, does anyone need to take a break? Please raise your
Yes,
hand.
we all do. We
We'll
all
take a
do.
brief break. For the next 10 minutes, we'll resume a little bit after 3:30.
Please be done, Daniel. Please be done. Even Judge Everett's like, oh my God, I'm tired. All right, let's try to get through this break. Oh, there we go. We back. We back.
Mr. Rashbaum, you may continue with your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, at this time, I would like to move in Defendant's Exhibit 58, which are selected text messages on July 18th that we discussed earlier.
Very well, any objection from the state other than what's already been made?
No, Your Honor.
Admitted over objection, you may proceed with publishing.
I don't need to publish those. Thank you, though, Your Honor. Do you remember what you did when you left Dolce Vita?
Yes, I do.
And what did you do?
I got in the car and I called my mom up on the phone.
Where was your mom when you called her?
I think she was at the city park.
Now, throughout this call, you don't mention Katie's name. Why don't you mention her name?
I think I was just always just being careful, but I mean, there was no big deal. My mom knew that I was going to go meet Katie, and I just spoke in general terms.
You tell your mom that everything is fine. What are you telling your mom when you tell her that?
I'm letting her know that it's the police, because that's how I left it when I left my meeting with my mom before I went crazy and I heard all about Luis Rivera. I'm letting my mom know, like, everything's fine. It's the police.
At the end of this call, there's discussion about cheerleading and Passover. What is your level of concern when you have this call with your mom?
I believe that there is no danger to my family at this time. We're very minimal.
Now, do you recall that the call got cut off? Well, let me say it differently. Withdraw the question, Your Honor. Do you recall that your mom, on the end of this call, had to call you back?
Yes.
And do you recall that about 10 minutes, 5 minutes later, she did call you back?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Judge, at this point in time, I'd like to play government exhibit, state exhibit G.
You may proceed.
And this is a call between you and your mom at 5:06 on April 20th. I don't hear anything.
Test your equipment again.
I didn't do it. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
Hi, honey, sorry about that. I had to just schedule,
Nothing in the headphones now.
I think it's clear on the speakers, but I guess play it once again. Hold your thumbs up if you can hear it clearly over the speaker.
Hi, honey. Sorry about that. I had to just schedule it for Monday because she was leaving.
Sorry, everyone. I just need to stand up.
So-
I'm gonna have to invest in one of those cameras
Speakers, and
that
you can hear them.
follow you because
You just wanted to be a little bit louder on the speaker, you're saying? I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm not sure why we can't get this to work from call to call, but
I would hope that Daniel invests in somebody to work the electronics in Donna's trial.
No, let's see if everyone can hear it without the headphones.
can you turn up the speaker?
It's at max capacity.
Oh, okay.
Which is lower than my voice. As we all know.
Except for when you're excited.
Exactly.
Good. I just so I hung out with my friend, and then she's gonna sleep on some stuff, and then she's gonna come tomorrow to either my office or Thanos' office and tell me how it
How
works.
that-
How she thought about it. So
Okay.
I'm still so I'll talk to her tomorrow. I wish her the best of luck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you think she'll be okay? You think everything will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
good for her?
I told her. I mean, I was explaining to you with relationships, they either go one or two ways. Like it's
Oh dear God, this is
So
the
it's-
swing one.
gonna be one or two ways.
Yeah. Well,
But that's
hopefully it's how you want it.
yeah.
How it would be best for her. Yes, honey, you can. All right, Charlie. I love you,
What
darling.
do they say? Yeah, you're welcome. So
Yeah, just hoping Dad has a good day at the office.
oh yeah.
Yeah, because I like him to have a good night's sleep. So
Yeah.
he works on a long day. It's a long day.
But I truly would not worry about anything.
Wait a second, Lincoln, honey. This little girl is on. Come here, honey. Wait till she finishes, and then you'll go on. You don't think so?
Yeah, no, without a doubt, I wouldn't.
Okay, I hope so.
There's nothing to worry about.
No.
No.
So you'll be up at the office. You'll be at our office all day tomorrow.
From 11 to probably by 3, I'm gonna be gone.
Oh, really? I'm done for the day.
Well, then I go to Thanos' office.
Oh, there's Santa. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
I
All right,
I hate this area of like Ives Dairy and 95.
Very crowded.
Oh my God, the traffic. So to go from like, I mean, literally for me to go from like, you know, on Biscayne to like all the way to like 95, it's the same amount of time it takes me to go from my house to South Beach.
Wow.
Just the east-west. It's quicker for me to go to South Beach from Fort Lauderdale than to be in Miami and go to the highway. I mean, it's just lanes, like 2 schools and everything. So, all right,
That's the they're swinging, and that's the. I'm pushing as high as I can, and that's the squeak of these of the swings.
all right.
So I'm pushing them. The old grandma.
Oh, grandma.
All right, I love you.
Yeah, you probably feel, but I would worry about absolutely nothing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I would not.
Well, if your theory is correct, then that'll be. We don't know that.
Well, listen, I mean, it you have to realize something. It does them no good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's nothing. They're not going to gain anything. They're still going to be in the same situation. It's not like you've ever threatened anybody or hurt anybody. So
No, I know that.
you know, and listen, the thing is that they're not hiding who they are.
Right. Not at all.
Not at all. So
when you call your mom back, there's a reference to Harvey. Harvey's your dad, right?
Yes.
There's a reference to hoping, your mom says she hopes Harvey had a good day at the office. She'd like him to have a good night's sleep. What did you understand this to be a reference to?
My dad's about to find out what had happened to me 2 years earlier and what's happening to my mom now.
You're telling your mom repeatedly in this call that not to worry about anything. Why are you telling her not to worry about anything?
Because my mom was worried that a gang member was going to come and hurt her, or somebody was trying to extort her for money.
Now, you then say, not like you ever threatened anyone or hurt anyone. And you say, she says to you, well, if your theory is correct, what was your theory? Well, first of all, when did you go over your theories with each other?
When I saw my mom 2 hours before this call was placed.
And what was your theory and what was her theory?
My theory was that it's the police. My mom's theory was that it's a bad guy and they're going to hurt one, and then somebody else in the family is going to pay the money, and that this was a serious threat and her life's in danger.
You then start talking about, again, how there were no threats, no disguise. Why are you telling this to your mom?
I'm telling my mom that this is so different. It can't be the same person. It can't be the same people that are behind my extortion that are behind her extortion.
Moving on to State Exhibit H. Now, State Exhibit H is a call that's in evidence between Sigfredo Garcia and Katie Magbanawa. Do you recall listening to that call?
Yes, I do.
Now, you obviously weren't on the call initially, right?
I was never on that call.
On the call, you can hear them fighting, and Sigfredo is refusing to make the phone call, right?
Yes.
Again, what had you discussed with Katie at Dolce Vita? What were you hoping that she would do?
That she would at least make the phone call, even though we were pretty sure it was the police. I mean, there's still a chance that you're wrong, and this is a copycat who doesn't realize that I was extorted, and they're running their own extortion off of and chasing down my mom.
The next day is now April 21st. And the state put in State's Exhibit J. And this is a 22-minute call between you and Catherine Magbanawa. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Was this the first time that you spoke with Katie after your meeting at Dolce Vita?
Yes, it is.
On this call, are you asking to meet with her?
Yes, I want to see her.
And how is she responding to meeting with you?
She's blowing me off. I'm trying to have her come to my office. I'm trying to have her come to the second office I'm at. She can't find it in her time to come meet me.
And when she seems that way, are you offering to pay for some things for her, like helping her get a hotel room and the keys?
Yeah, and that was actually even before the bump. She had asked me for something, and I said, sure, I'll do it for you. And it was a $300 hotel room. But that was before the bump. But yes.
Now, during this call, Katie starts talking about investments in properties. Do you remember that?
I do.
When she starts talking about the investments in the properties, at first, do you have any idea what she's talking about?
I have no clue what she's talking about.
So in this trial, there's been a lot of talk about code. And the government has a nice little cheat sheet as to what they believe the various code words were. Did you and Katie ever discuss any code words?
There was never any code discussed.
But it's fair to say that when you're speaking on the phone with Katie and when you're speaking on the phone with your mom, you're talking very carefully
Extremely carefully.
and for different reasons, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about why you're talking carefully with Katie. What was the reason why you continued to talk very carefully on the phone with Katie?
I didn't want Katie to think that I was setting her up.
Now, when you say you didn't want her to think that you were setting her up, at this point in time, you didn't think she was part of any murder or any extortion, right?
Correct.
So how would you be setting her up?
Well, she's tied to the people who murdered Dan Markel, and I'm tied to her. So if I went to the police, I would be calling her up and trying to get them caught, and I'd be talking in a much more blunt way.
And what are you afraid of if she thinks that you're setting her up? There's probably a couple things you're afraid of, but what are some of those things that you're afraid of?
The number one thing is I'd get killed because they think I'm a loose end.
Okay, what's the number two thing?
Number two thing is I'd get zero help. She would help me with nothing.
And help in finding out what?
Who's behind the second extortion of my mom?
Now, ultimately, during this call, you figure out what she's talking about with properties, right?
As she goes, I'm catching on to some of her lingo.
She says to you, I was talking to someone. Do you think that would be a good investment? He was like, no, that is a really stupid. You should really use your head. What did you understand her to be saying? Who is the he?
Well, by this time, she was back with her ex-husband, and I assumed that person to be Sigfredo Garcia.
Did you assume her to be saying to you, he doesn't want to make the phone call at this point?
No.
Now, she says, but he is going to look into a couple things, a couple of properties, and find out what's going on. And then I'll go from there because you can't just jump into a place you don't even know. What did you understand her to be telling you here?
She was saying that she's going to look into it. You just can't pay extortion. You don't even know who the person is.
I don't get this.
She then says later in the
much.
call that she thinks that the property was posted incorrectly. She also says that she thinks it's a false lead.
Mm-hmm.
What did you understand her to be saying to you at that point in time?
She's trying to tell me that this is the police. This is not real extortion. And that's pretty much what she was saying, exactly what she was saying the day before.
She says it's one of two scenarios. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. What did you understand her to be saying were the two scenarios?
Well, the first one is the police, where she's like, you can't pay the police. And the second one would have been a copycat extorter, but not being possibly Luis Rivera or Sigfredo Garcia.
In response, you say, the thing is that property came with full listing, everything but pictures. What are you saying here?
I'm saying that this extortion came with so much information. And that was the thing with the first extortion on July 18th, is that I had no information. Even when I guessed, the person wouldn't say, she just said, no, I'm not going to tell you.
And so the fact that it came with everything but the pictures, what did that make you feel it was?
That it was more than likely law enforcement. I mean, they were giving you phone numbers, they were giving you names, they weren't trying to hide who they were. It had to be, it more than likely was law enforcement. but it's still a small chance. It could have been a copycat extorter.
15 minutes and 45 seconds in this call. She says, I did some research. I will find out more. I don't want anyone to take advantage of you. How was she acting?
Like she was protecting me, and she was trying to help.
And incidentally, what did you think she was doing for you for the past 20 months since the extortion that occurred on July 18th?
I thought she was protecting me.
You then start talking with her about other types of real estate. Was
Yes.
this real estate at this point?
There was some real talk about real estate because she was working in a real estate company.
And you tell her that you'll lend her money for her real estate career?
Yeah, she'd once asked me if she ever found a good place, would I lend the money and go in partnership with her? And I always said if you found the right deal, I would. But we never spoke any
Isn't that the
specifics
same thing you
beyond that.
said,
And you
To,
talked to
uh,
her about helping her out with her car?
Janice?
Yeah.
Or not Janice, sorry.
Why were
June.
you offering to help Catherine Magbanowa out with her real estate career and her car, and saying that at this point in time?
I didn't think that she was benefiting from the extortion of me at all. She always told me she never took any money. Her credit cards were getting declined at Old Navy. She's borrowing money. I thought that she got dragged into this in the same way I got dragged into this.
Now, the next call that's in evidence is K. And this is April 21 at, I believe, 11 o'clock a.m. One moment, Your Honor.
Take your time.
No, Judge Everett, don't take his time. Don't.
This is a call between you and your mom, correct?
Yes.
And this is the first call since the call that we just heard where your mom is swinging the boys at the park, right?
Right.
Now, there's a discussion on this call about meeting with your dad. Why were you going to meet with your dad?
Well, I knew the night of the 20th, my mom was going to tell my dad what had happened to me and what's happening to her now. And I knew my dad was going to want to talk to me and find out what's going on. So I told my mom, listen, I'll talk to dad when he wants to talk to me tomorrow, just have him meet me.
50 seconds into this call, which again, I don't think we need to play it, is K. You say, I saw a lot of police everywhere giving traffic tickets, so be careful. Anyway, that's who I think it is for multiple reasons. Multiple reasons. What are you telling your mom here?
I'm telling my mom, be careful where you talk about this. I don't want the police to know that I know anything or that I was extorted. They're going to come talk to you. So please be careful and be careful where you talk.
And when your mom responds, again, on the earlier call, well, that's good if your theory is correct. What do you understand your mom to be hoping for?
My mom was hoping it was the police.
Oh, come on, Daniel.
Now,
Get to the
after
crescendo.
this call, you have a call with your dad, and where do you all decide to meet for dinner?
I was originally going to just have my dad come by my house, but I was working late, and I told my dad I'll meet him at like a halfway point between my place and his place, and I met him for sushi down in Miami.
And let's talk about Matsuri.
Okay.
Did you go to the restaurant straight from work?
Yes, I did.
Who got there first?
I think my dad was there before me.
When you got there, could you all get a table right away?
No, it was not at night, but the place was packed.
Where did you go when you couldn't get a table?
We waited for about 15 minutes and told the person seating people that we'll just take a seat at the bar. Take 2 seats at the bar if you can.
Before you got seats at the bar, did you go anywhere to talk with your dad?
Yeah, we put our name down and we were just sitting outside the restaurant on a bench.
Did you notice anyone around you?
No.
As a result, were you able to talk freely?
Yeah.
Without going into the whole discussion again, what
Please.
did you discuss generally with your dad?
I told him what had happened to me, and I told him that I thought it was the police that were doing this to mom, and that this is just so different.
Now, was it clear to you when you met with your dad in the outside of the restaurant that your mom had told him everything by that point in time?
She told him everything.
Was it clear that he knew that this was related to Catherine Magbanua?
Yes.
Now, at this point in time, I want to emphasize this point in time, did your mom or your dad know anything about Tato being in prison, confirmation that Sigfredo Garcia was the extorter? Did they know anything about that?
Well, the undercover had told my mom that Tato was incarcerated, but aside from that, everything that I had found out at lunch the day before, or meeting with Katie after I saw my mom, I hadn't spoken to my mom about it, so she knew none of that.
Now, was your dad upset with you?
He wanted to know why didn't I come to him, and I said, Dad, I thought if I went to you, I didn't think I'd be able to stop you from going to the police. I don't think you would have realized the danger that I was in, and the family you would be putting the family in. So I didn't want to tell anybody. The only reason I told mom was because when I ended up picking up the checks from her, when she found out.
He now knows, though, right? He knows as of the evening of April 20th when your mom tells him, but he knows as of Matsuri.
Yes.
Does he say to you, Charlie, I got to go to the police?
No, I think my mom scared him pretty good.
And when
Let
you
me
spoke
move.
to him,
You saw me do this.
was
Nothing came out.
he behind you in not going to the police?
Yeah, I mean, he understood why I didn't go. I mean, he understood how serious it was. This was not a small threat.
We'll just say where I was talking and nothing was.
Did you
going
tell
out.
him
Just a
outside
bunch
the
of,
restaurant before you go into
curse words.
eat that you were pretty sure it was the police?
Yeah, and I went through all the reasons that we've spoken about, that it was. I was fairly certain it was the police.
Now, you end up getting seated at the restaurant, and where do they seat you?
They seat us at the sushi bar. So
Now, Matsuri, it's a pretty authentic Japanese sushi restaurant, right?
yeah, it's in a strip shopping center, but you go in there and like half the people are Japanese. It's very authentic.
At first, did you notice anyone sitting next to your dad?
No, we just sat at the bar. It was just the two of us.
Later, did you notice someone?
Yes, a gentleman comes over and sits down next to my dad.
Now, before we get into some of the details, did anything initially strike you as very weird about this person who was sitting next to your dad? What was the first thing that struck you as being kind of off?
He was very rude.
How was he rude?
Well, we're sitting there. We got our dinner plates at the sushi bar. They serve you your food, and so your dinner plate's there, and your drinks are there. And he comes over, and he plops this big bag down right next to my dad's dinner plate. And it's like, you don't put your belongings on the dinner table. And it just struck me. I looked at the guy. He put his belongings down and his keys, and it's like sitting next to my dad's plate. I'd never seen that done like that before.
You don't pay your girlfriend to get her boyfriend or her other boyfriend to kill or to take a hit out on your brother-in-law. How dare he put a bag by the dinner plate on the dinner table? Because that's just rude. But hey, Chuckles, don't think you're right up there to be judging anybody.
And that was off to you, right?
Yeah, I just thought the guy was rude. He was off, yeah.
I want to take you back to before you saw the guy.
Oh.
You've seen the recording. Was there some discussion between you and your dad before the recording that the jury has?
Yes.
But the recording starts with you almost mid-sentence saying, I can even tell you he's at Giant Stadium. Do you remember that?
I do.
What are you talking about there?
I'm saying that we're talking about it being the police, and I'm saying the police are just following a lead that's not true.
Now, are you actually using the word police?
No.
You then say
So what
it's
does
not
Giant
done.
Stadium
By the
mean?
way, what's the reference to Giant Stadium?
Supposedly some guy, Jimmy Hoffa, who got killed years ago, was buried in the end zone of Giant Stadium. So the police went and dug up the end zone, thinking that he was there because somebody said it. So they investigated it, but it was never true.
Now, you then say it's not done like that. What were you telling your dad was not done like that?
The extortion wasn't done like it was done to me. It's being done to my mom. That's not how it's done.
And you do this twice, but at 50 seconds into the recording, you say, and the funny thing is, and you whisper something in your dad's ear.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't know the exact words, but what did you whisper into your dad's ear?
I was saying they don't realize I was extorted the first time, and this is the same thing that's getting done. Then the second time I say this is like the funny thing is this is like deja vu.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
Why not say the funny thing is
Then
they
there
don't
was
have the whole
talk
story. They don't know what was done
about
to
why they didn't go to Wendy. And why did you think they didn't go to
you.
Wendy?
Hey, why would it be the funny thing is?
I think they didn't go to Wendy because the police already spoke to her.
And she threw you under the bus.
And Harvey asks you if Katie agrees with you. Agrees with you about what?
That it's the police.
Throughout the video, you're seen repeatedly looking at the guy next to your dad.
Yes.
Why are you looking at him the second time? What piques your attention next?
Well, the waitress came over, and the first thing he said to her is, "What kind of salads do you have here?" And she even just looked at him. I mean, it's like it's a sushi bar. You come here to eat sushi, and it's not a place where you come in and you're like, "What kind of salads you have here?" And then when I looked at him, he looked at me, and then he ordered his salad and he ordered a California roll. So I was like, this guy really doesn't like sushi, and he's coming into a sushi restaurant at 9:00 at night by himself. He seems really odd.
Now,
That would be odd. Let's admit. They should have picked wait, hold on here. They should have picked somebody that enjoyed sushi, because that just was like a red flag. Undercover. Like, you got to give them that. Like, that was a bad choice.
you then say again at some point, and the funny thing is, and it's unintelligible after. Do you think you know what you said at that point?
I said, this is like deja vu.
Why is that the funny thing is? It doesn't make sense. Why not just say this is like deja vu, or here we go
You're
again?
then eating and you say to your dad, I think there's a recorder in the bag. Your dad asks whether they can do that, and you say they can with a warrant. why did you think there was a recorder in the bag, and who did you think was sitting next to your dad?
I mean, the way the guy ordered his food, I mean, he clearly doesn't like sushi, and he's sitting in a sushi restaurant, and then he's sitting there with this bag on a table next to our dinner plate. He's either the rudest guy ever, or could be a police officer, or I could be just completely wrong, and he is just a rude guy.
And so what happens after, as Ms. Kappelman says, he was made? What happens after you realize that he is a police officer, or someone, you have suspicions that he's a police officer?
Yeah, we no longer talk about the extortion.
Why don't you talk about it? What would be the problem with the police knowing about the extortion, the first extortion?
It's the same reason I didn't go to the police the night of July 18th, is that I was worried about my life, my family's life. And I bounced back and forth between should I go, should I not go? And every time I went through the pros and cons, I mean, it wasn't going to bring Dan back. The people who did this don't care about killing someone in the middle of the day. I mean, there's not a question, especially sitting here and seeing Luis Rivera come in, and I know who Sigfredo Garcia is. I don't think these guys would have cared. I think they would have killed me.
Now, after dinner, you leave the restaurant and you go in the parking lot, right?
Yes.
And you thought you were going to just go to your cars. Your dad walks you to your car first, and what happens?
We're just talking, and he's asking me a few more questions, and then he asked me about who's Tato. Like, what's the story with him? Did Katie know who Tato is?
And at that point in time, for the first time, did you tell your dad what you had learned in the car with Katie the day before?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not holding anything back from my parents, and I told my dad that, yeah, Dad, Tato's a real person, and he's the head of the Latin Kings of Miami, and he's the one who killed Dan.
When you tell your dad that, how does he react?
He's like, look, you think it's the police, why not, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. Let's just go to the police now. Don't you think that's the safest thing to do? And I said, absolutely not. I mean, these people are connected. They know other people out there. I didn't go to the police originally. I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, I said, I think it's the police, so there's nobody's going to get hurt. And he's like, well, what if you're wrong?
And did this discussion go back and forth for a while?
Yeah, because I mean, what do you say when someone says, what if you're wrong? I mean, you're going to get killed.
What did you tell him you would continue to do?
I said, listen, I'm going to talk to Katie. Hopefully she'll come by and see me tomorrow, or I'll talk to her and see if she's reached out to these people and to see if it is legitimate extortion or if it's just the police.
Did you again go over with your dad all the reasons why you were sure it wasn't the police?
That it was the police.
I'm sorry, that it was the police.
Yeah. At that point, I did. I rehashed everything again and went through everything that we discussed.
And at the end of leaving the restaurant, what did your dad agree to?
He agreed not to go to the police.
The police would have gave them the protection they needed, though. They had this this chest of all this information. The police would have protected them. I have no doubt.
The next day, you speak with your mom, correct? This is April 22nd.
Yes, I do.
Come on, Daniel. Come on, Daniel.
This is
You can
defense
do it.
exhibit.
You can do
I'm
it.
sorry.
Let's go,
I'm
Daniel.
sorry, John. I'm a little confused. Hold on a second.
Oh, no, he's confused. Oh, God. Confused and cluttered. Come on, Daniel. It's like that little train. I can do it.
This call is not in evidence.
This binder's
On this
supposed to be
call,
big.
just to refresh your memory so that we don't have to play it. Well, let me first offer it into evidence. Judge, it's labeled Defense Exhibit 100. It's a call between Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson on April 22nd. It's State Call 1695. We would move it into evidence.
Any objection from the state?
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, the bailiff is going to escort you to the jury room. I'm going to listen to the call.
Like honestly, that gallery has thinned out large. Like people just are fed up of hearing him. It's taking forever to get to the point. I know they've got to change every word he has said. I get that. But come on, Daniel, you can do it.
Everyone can be seated. You can play the call, please.
Would you like me to play the full call or just the part that I plan on publishing?
Well, how long is the call itself?
Charlie's like, when do I go to get my peanut butter sandwich? I think they're going to put jelly on it today.
The call is 15 minutes long, 15 minutes and 11 seconds long.
All right. Well, I believe the context of the call is really going to matter here, but how long is the portion that you plan to publish?
I plan on starting at around 5 minutes and 50 seconds in and going till I think I could stop it at around 7:30.
All right. Go ahead and just start it from the beginning.
From the beginning of the call, 15 minutes.
Yep. Go ahead.
I started it.
Oh, no.
Well, I guess it's a good thing when you're not hearing voices, but I do actually need to hear the voices to get through this issue.
Sorry, everyone. I
really hate computers.
readjust here.
Only on the phone. We'll just say hello to him. Charlie, hold on a second, okay?
Can you rewind at the beginning?
Hey, sweetheart, how are you?
Good, what's going on?
Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Dad.
How are you?
Good, what's going on?
Not too much. I got the boys finishing up a computer show. You finished? Good. Shut it off, Lincoln. Go brush your teeth, and I got to get Ben. Ben, go brush your teeth now. Ben, go brush your teeth. All right. I got Uncle Charlie on the phone. You want to just say hello to him? Charlie, hold on a second, okay?
Okay. Hey, sweetheart, how are you?
Good, what's going on?
Well, you know. You know.
Any
No.
more drama?
No, I had busy day. I got up early and cooking a lot of stuff for the Seder for tomorrow, and then no, Ben, go to Grandpa and get your teeth brushed. What? One second. Is Hot Wheels? Really? Okay, Lincoln, go get your teeth brushed, baby. And then we went to the courthouse. It was very nice. We met Wendy Judge.
Oh, nice.
She is like your next door neighbor.
Really?
She had said that all along because I remember the other judge she works for. Whoa,
Really?
impossible, very difficult woman. This guy is like,
Like
we
Bud?
had- yeah, just like your neighbor, just sitting, friendly, talking, kidding about how, because one of the guys there, this black guy named Charlie, is with the girl now, and he's pretty serious. So he said, yeah, we've all been trying to tell him, the secret to a happy marriage. He says, I'm married, I don't know, 30 years or something, this judge. He says, secret to a happy marriage is yes, dear, it only works. He says, actually, what really works is you're right, yes, dear. So he said, it's worked for me. He said, I'm happy, I've got 2 great daughters, my life is good. He says, so I'm trying to tell Charlie, practice every day. Yes, dear, you're right. He said, you'll do great. So, but he was like funny and casual, and it was casual Friday, so he's just wearing like a pair of pants and a collared, like a collared shirt, casual shirt, t-shirt type thing, and so friendly. Just what Wendy said, a genuinely nice guy. You wouldn't think he's an appellate judge. You just wouldn't believe it. So super nice guy, and I'm happy for her because she's a nice person for her to work with. And the other 4 people, that we met, also so nice.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, this guy Trinity, I think Trinity is Wendy's age. I thought she told me he used to be a cop, and then he went to law school, and now he's doing this. Beautiful job, Ben. And he, and he's the one that's married and has 2 kids. And there's such a difference because, for whatever reason, Ben didn't want the ice cream cake. So he went back and said, Wendy's office, we're all sitting and having cake. And after about 15 minutes, this guy Trinity gets up, and we thought he was in the bathroom. So, anyway, yes, he did, honey. He just did. He has an extra brush in there. There's some things that I was hoping. No, I'm going to ask him. He said, what time tomorrow? I'm hoping I'm going to have a little time with you tomorrow just to talk about some of the cases that we need to go over. So, okay. All your stuff. Okay, sweetheart. Okay, I'll get you one. So I would like, if that's possible, maybe. What do you think?
Well, I'm waking up early in the morning. I'm driving up to West Palm Beach.
I know you said that. I couldn't remember what you were doing up there.
I'm going racing.
Oh, and you're doing something. Dad said, "What's he doing?" I said, "You know what? I don't remember." He told me he was doing something.
Yeah, no, I'm going racing. I got all the guys going up there.
Yeah.
How
many of you are going?
I think just 4 of us.
Yeah. Is Scotty one of them?
Scott Jones, who? Scott Radius or Scott Jones?
Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a
Yeah.
second. What, Lincoln?
I know when the rescue box first got their color.
Yeah.
When they scanned the vehicle, they turned into the vehicle and then they transformed. And
Look at him looking at the Markells. I guarantee
Tell
you
them I'm
look
going to
at
get
the
a book
Markells.
and
What
go
a
into bed with you,
douchebag.
and I will be right there. Okay. I forgot about that. Okay. You can have, no, not this one, honey. Let me do this with you tomorrow, please, Ben. So you go up there early. So what is that like? About 3-4 hours of racing or less?
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking
But
at
it's
an
up
hour.
there.
It's an hour and 15 minutes there. It's an hour
Sure.
and 15 minutes back
Yeah.
here, and I'll probably be there for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to get to your place by 5:30.
Okay. If it doesn't work, maybe maybe you'll stay a little bit later because dinner. It's not going to be a ladies' night,
No. I can always talk to you after. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. A little bit.
Can I just ask you one thing?
Sure.
Has there been any more drama?
No.
You already asked that.
Zero.
Yeah. Did Dad tell you what I spoke to him about?
Yeah. And I have a couple of questions. That's what I want to have a chance to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, but it makes
just to go over those cases.
makes perfect sense, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I still have some questions and things that I think need to be addressed. But, we'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I mean, listen, there's no rush. I don't start work till Monday.
Okay, sounds good.
It's not like asking you tomorrow, but
Yeah.
what I thought everything through again and again and again, and
He just can't help
I think
himself.
I'm 100% right,
Yeah.
Of
Well, I
course
hope
you
so.
are.
That would be-
Of course
Yeah.
you are.
or 99% right, because none of it makes any sense.
No,
None of it makes any sense. I mean,
no,
there's no.
I know.
It's not. I'm just telling you, it's not done like that. It's
Yeah.
not. I know for a fact it's
Yeah.
not. It's not done like that at all. And they're approaching somebody who has nothing to do with anything, which is even
Yeah.
sillier.
Yeah.
So
Instead of approaching somebody
my
that
feeling
does?
is that you go to. I'll tell you what my feeling
Yeah,
is.
let's-
But
Yeah.
But it's utter nonsense. Like that's the best way I could describe it. It's
Yeah.
utter nonsense, and I wouldn't pay it any attention. No attention at all. It's not done like that. It's flat out. It's not done like that.
Yeah. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
No, but I mean, I can say it on the phone without saying it, but it's not done in such a nice manner.
No.
No, it's not. It's not done like that. It's
Keep going, Charlie. Keep going.
It's done like that if you want someone to talk to you. If it's otherwise, it would just be. It wouldn't be done like that.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing. Listen. If you're
Look, you've
Let's-
got.
Let's go.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's really what I thought. I think it's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Okay. All right, sweetie. So you going out tonight?
Nah, probably not, because I want to get up and
I'll
do
be
racing
staying
in the
up
morning.
early. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and then do all that.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have fun tomorrow. That sounds great.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm buying the cart.
What cart?
I'm buying the go-kart tomorrow.
Oh yes, go
I
kart.
thought
That's
you
what I meant.
racing cars.
Kart racing.
Oh, I thought CARS. Oh.
No, you can't rent cars to race. They'll never let you rent a car.
So a cart. So what is everybody doing that? They buy carts?
Well, I'm buying my go-kart.
And so what is everybody else doing?
Bob,
Do
is
you?
at the
They're
end of
renting
the
it, yeah.
portion you wish to publish.
But I'm going pro.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, I've always wanted a go-kart.
With regard to the hearsay objection, the part that really struck my ear was your client saying it's not done this way. What is his qualification to essentially make this opinion if this is not hearsay?
His qualification is he's been extorted before, and he knows it's not done this way.
Assuming there are many ways to skin a cat, on the one way in which he's alleging to have been extorted, what is his foundation to make this opinion?
He's making an opinion based on his past, and it goes to his state of mind. So even though it's hearsay, it's an exception to the hearsay rule, which is his state of mind.
State any further argument. All right. I am going to sustain the objection. Your client may testify as to any matters he can recall, but specifically not getting into the substance of this call itself.
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Let's bring back in the jurors.
May I approach the podium, Your Honor?
You may.
Let's get these jurors in. Let's get him done here.
The Matsuri meeting was on, dinner was on April 21, 2016, correct?
Yes.
The next day, you have a call with your mother. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
During that call with your mother, do you recall asking her whether dad had told her everything that you told him the night before?
Yeah.
Overrule, we can answer the question, does not get into the substance of. You may continue.
Yes, I asked her, had my dad told her everything that I talked with him at dinner about.
And on that call, what again do you tell your mom, even with what you had told your dad the night before?
Objection, hearsay.
Well, I'm going to allow him to answer the question as long as it's not going to get into an out-of-court statement. You may answer the question.
That it's not done this way. I know for a fact. And I'm 99% sure it is what I thought it was.
What was the basis for you telling your mom that?
I wanted to calm her down and tell her that I'm more sure that it's the police. The basis was the guy that sat next to us at the restaurant who went to the sushi restaurant and wanted to eat a California roll and was real rude.
Okay. Now I want to go to April 23rd. Okay. April 23rd. Judge, may we go sidebar very briefly?
Oh,
Approach.
Lord have mercy, Daniel. This man, I tell you. There we go.
On April 23rd, do you find out later in the day that a letter has been sent to your parents' home?
The letter was
That your parents received a letter on April 23rd.
it was on a Monday. Was that the 23rd?
Can we show what exhibit is the letter? Do you have the letter?
I believe this is already entered into evidence.
It is. Do you have the letter?
Yes.
79.
I don't know about you guys, but how do you remember like 2-3 years back what a day fell on? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How do you remember that? Oh, like it's obvious we all know he studied everything.
We'll look at it after. I can't find it. Will you take my
Of course you
word
can't find it.
that the letter was received by your parents on April 23rd?
Sure.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, I think it was Monday the 25th.
Ah, you're right. Don't take my word.
Called out by his own client.
The letter was received on April 25th.
That I will agree with.
Okay. Now, on April 23rd, did you find out that Catherine Magbanawa and Sigfredo Garcia were in a big fight?
Yeah, I did actually.
And did you learn that Catherine Magbanawa had left him?
Yeah, I believe when I called her on the phone, she said she took her shit and left.
Now, on the 23rd, when you find that out, were you upset?
Yeah.
Why were you upset?
Well, at this point in time, Katie had been protecting me in the first extortion. With Katie being with Sigfredo Garcia, that was the best chance I had to try to stop the second extortion or to find out who's behind it. And then it also made me think that the timing of their explosive breakup and the timing of the guy extorting my mom and the fact that I had just found out on Wednesday, the 20th, that Sigfredo was behind what happened to me was very suspicious. So it opened the door in my head to thinking like, what if Katie's, what if she's breaking up with him because she found out that he's behind the extortion of my mom and she doesn't want to tell me. So my mind was going there.
And then 2 days later, the letter arrives at your parents' apartment, right?
Yes, on that Monday.
Okay, so let's talk about that Monday, April 25th. Where were you working that day?
I was actually working in that office in South Beach, just a couple blocks away.
And after work, where did you go?
I went over to my parents' house to stop off.
What happened when you got to your parents' house?
My parents were really shaken up because they got a very threatening letter mailed to them saying that you don't take me serious and Tato is fucked and soon you will be fucked too. And it was mailed to their apartment. So now they're saying who's ever doing this, they know where we live, not just the building. They know the apartment number. Like this, they were scared.
Did your parents think that the letter was more threatening or less threatening than the original communication on the street?
Way more threatening.
And what did you do after you found out about the letter?
After I found out about the letter, I called Katie because I'm thinking like this has to be Sigfredo. Like they're fighting and he was behind what happened to me. Not that this has to be, but like it was real suspicious and I wanted to see what her feelings were. And she was avoiding me. I tried to see Katie on Thursday. I tried to have her come to my office, to either one of the offices I was working at. She wouldn't come. Tried to have her come on Friday. She wouldn't come. I wanted to see if she wanted to see me Saturday. She was avoiding me. And then it just all was lining up it was making me question a lot.
Now, the state put in M. Is that a call that you had with Katie about meeting with her, and this is after the letter arrives?
Yeah, I wanted her to come down to meet me.
Did she agree to meet with you on the evening of the 25th?
Yeah, she drove down to where I was at.
Where did you meet with her?
I met her at my parents' building. I was downstairs.
Did you meet her around the same place that you had met with your mom after the bump?
Yeah.
What did you do when you met? Did you stay in one spot or did you go someplace?
No, we just went for a walk along the sidewalk, along the water, and we walked probably a good 30, 40 minutes maybe.
What did you discuss on your walk?
I confronted her and asked her, do you think that this is Sigfredo that's doing this to my mom? And she again said, no, absolutely not. I'm like, but come on, can you tell me? Because you guys are fighting and I know he was behind. Now what happened to me is this what you guys are fighting about? Do you not want to tell me? And she was adamant that it wasn't him. And then I said, well, what about Tato? What about Luis Rivera? And she said, it doesn't seem like something he would do. This is not how he would do it. She said, but he is incarcerated, and Sigfredo did bring him on. He is the one who killed Dan. Is maybe one of his people is trying to do an extortion off of something that he thinks was murder for hire, because whoever it is writing this thinks it was a murder for hire, which it wasn't. So I opened up that possibility. And she said, well, probably not. But she said, it could be, it's probably the police. She still was like, it's the police, but it could be a copycat.
What did she tell you that she would do?
She was going to call the number. And I was like, you haven't called yet. And she said, no, she hadn't. So I'm like, can you please call the number and see if you know these people and see if you can get it to stop?
After you did how long were you with her this evening on this walk where you're having this discussion?
I mean, it was probably 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back. And we sat for like 10 minutes. So, I mean, it was over an hour for sure, hour and a half.
When she left, did you stay in South Beach?
Yeah. And I tried to get her to call the number by telling her like my parents are going to go to the police. Like they are going to go if you don't give them some peace of mind and find out that confirm for me.
By the way, this is April 25th. Is that the last time that you saw Catherine Magbanua in person?
Yes.
Now, after you meet with her that night, do you meet with your parents again?
Yeah, I went over. My parents were actually at my sister's apartment, which was a few blocks away. So when I got done there, I sat for a little while, and then I went over to my sister's apartment.
When you went to your sister's apartment, was she there?
No, she wasn't.
And who did you meet with?
My mom came downstairs. My dad stayed up in the apartment because the kids were sleeping.
Why did you meet with your mom alone outside of the apartment? What was your mom and dad afraid of?
I think that what they didn't want was Wendy coming home and then starting to question what's going on.
What did you tell your mom when you met with her?
I told her that I talked to Katie, and she does not think that it's Sigfredo, and she still thinks it's the police, and that she's going to look into it on the chance that it's a copycat, and it's a second layer of extortion.
Now, April 26th, the government put in Exhibit O, which is a call between Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua, and they put in a text message, which is P and Q, which are text messages between them. You recall that?
Yes.
And I know you weren't privy to this in real time, but those calls and text messages show that the two of them are fighting still, right?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, strike that, Your Honor. During those calls, what is Catherine Magbanua trying to get Sigfredo Garcia to do?
She wants him to call the number.
Now, the next morning, and this is R, at 10:30 a.m., you have a call with your mom. Do you recall that?
Yeah. What date is that?
April 26th now.
Okay.
And you talk about whether she feels better about the things you told her last night. What were the things you told her last night?
I told her that it's the police, and that you're not going to be harmed. You're not in any danger. And my mom was hung up on the fact that the person was ratcheting up their threats, making deliveries to their apartment, telling them that they're going to be fucked if they don't pay up.
And there's some discussion about the letter being written like a girl. Do you remember that?
The beginning part of it was like a girl. The second part sounded real tough.
And so what did you mean about the beginning part of it being written like a girl?
If this guy's saying that he's a Latin king, I can't imagine a Latin king writing "you don't care" as a phrase. It doesn't sound right. Doesn't mean it's not a copycat, but it doesn't sound like that's who it is who she thinks it is.
At the end of this call, and this is R again, around 2 minutes in, you say, one, they weren't the same person, without a doubt. Listen, I actually do know how these things are done. And that was the same thing that I said. It is not done like this. Your mom says, yeah, that is what you explained. And you say, no, it is 48 hours. You recall that?
Exactly. Yes.
When you say they aren't the same person, what are you saying?
I'm saying it's not the same people that extorted me that are extorting you. It's clearly not the same as the first extortion.
And when you say it's 48 hours, what are
Okay, so this is where I just, oh, come on, Daniel. If his mom knows, if he said he's filled his mom in on the first extortion, if he's filled his mom in and he's filled his dad in, why isn't he not just saying, it's different than what happened to me, Mom? It's not the same person. She knows it happened to him. Especially when they're not in on the phone or any of this, like on the phone, in the house, whatever. Why is he not just saying, like, if he said there, I'm telling it's not the same person that done it to me. Like, it does make no sense not saying, oh, I know how this is done. It's not the same person that done it to me. She's going to understand. You don't have to say, it's not the same extortionist, or it's not, it's not. All he has to say is, this is different than what happened to me. That is it.
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to what happened to me on July 18th when I was told you got 48 hours or we're going to kill you.
They talk so much in circles, they put themselves in a box.
We then go to State's Exhibit S, which is later that same day. And you learn,
look, everybody, we
that
are
your dad didn't go to
halfway
work
through
that
the
day.
binder. Halfway through the binder.
Why were you upset about that?
Because I knew how this extortion was affecting them. I mean, my dad's probably missed 2 sick days in the last 20 years, and he's afraid he's going to get killed in the parking lot of him walking into his office because he's getting extorted by some Latin King gang member at this point. And
No, he's afraid the
to go to
cops are
work.
going to pick him up.
So even though they're telling me they're okay, I know when my dad's not going to work, there's something seriously wrong.
And your mom asks you whether you ever checked the phone number I gave you last night. Again, what is she referring to?
She's saying, did you follow up on this? Is this person really a dangerous person?
Your mom then starts talking about fixing bridges. And you say, Mom, just stop with the fucking nonsense because I really don't want to come down there anymore. What are you frustrated with her about?
I'm frustrated. My mom's trying to talk carefully, and I understand that. But I'm letting her know, like, this is the police. Like, I do not think you're in any danger. This is not the same as the extortion that I dealt with. They're not approaching you the same way I was approached. There's so many things that are different. Like, I keep telling them, like, this is the police. You're not in any danger. And she's fixated. And I understand. So they're older, and someone's sending a letter to the house saying you're going to be fucked if you don't pay up. They're scared.
You say 7 minutes and 18 seconds into the call. It's not like, oh, we'll get one of them and the other one will start paying. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What are you referring to?
That's what my mom's theory was, is that they're going to get her, and they're going to hurt her, and then someone else, and then they'll go to someone else in the family, and then they'll start paying them.
You then say, first of all, they don't give you a number. I mean, everything is so traceable. They also weren't disguised. Again, you say 10 seconds later, this is not how it's done. What are you reiterating over and over and over to your mom?
Is that these people aren't hiding who they are. And for 2 years, I was not given a name. I wasn't given phone numbers. These people have traceable devices. They're not hiding. It's not done like this. This is different. And then they kept saying, well, what if you're wrong? And that's what kept me looking into it.
Then we go to T. And by the way, T, just to be clear, S was a call with your mom, and that call is at 4:00 p.m. and lasts 15 minutes long. And then T is at 4:33 p.m. of the same day. And this was the first call you had with Katie after you met with her, right?
Yeah.
Again, Katie is talking about a client and property, right?
Yes, she is.
And she asks you for a number.
He's-
Did you have the number on you?
No.
he's still got. Oh, come on.
How were you
Daniel.
going to get the number?
Do you wish you
figured
could
I'd
just
call my mom
reach
up and
in
see
there,
if she had the phone
flip
number.
those
get it
papers
from
and
Katie.
say, you're done.
And on
Finish.
you try to get the number from your mom, right?
Yes, I called her.
And did your mom have the number?
No, she said that she had given it to me.
Everyone okay? Technology.
That's some bad nerves right there.
Okay. Let's move on to W. Actually, we'll skip W.
Thank you. Go to X. Get to Y. Finish line Z.
Now we go to the next day. The next day, you have a call with Catherine. This is X. You have a call with Catherine Magbanoa at 10:42 in the morning. And to kind of spur your memory so that we don't have to play it again, this is the Drake call.
Oh.
Do you recall that call?
I recall it.
Okay. And during this call, there's some discussion about helping her out with a vacation. What was that about?
She had asked me, and it's on the wires before the bump. She wanted to go down to the Keys, and there's a place that I would stay at that I have a connection to, and I could get a room really inexpensive. So she had reached out to me if whether or not I could call up and get that connection for her. And I said, you know what, I'm going to pay for it for you. So I said, wherever you go, I'm going to take care of it.
So generous.
Judge, can we briefly go sidebar again?
No, Daniel, you
Very
cannot.
briefly. Please approach.
Oh, seriously, man. Judge Everett has to say no. That's enough's enough.
Now, one of the calls that's in evidence but was not played yesterday is Y, and that's a call to your mom on
At
the
Y,
your mom
people.
calls you at 12:25
Y.
p.m. On the 27th. There's some discussion about Miami Heat tickets. Do you recall that call?
Yes. I do.
Okay. Rather than play the whole call, let me just ask you some questions to see if you remember it.
Sure.
Do you recall offering your parents Miami Heat tickets?
Yeah,
Playoffs.
I knew somebody who wanted to sell their tickets, so I wanted to see if they wanted to go.
And they did not want to go, right?
Yeah, they didn't want to go.
And why didn't they want to go?
They were still really upset about being extorted and the letter that came to the house on Monday. This was the day after my dad took the day off of work and didn't go to work.
And again, what do you repeatedly tell your parents on this call?
I tell them that it's not done like this, that this is basically I tell them it's not the same people and that you have nothing to worry about.
Do you talk to them about the location they live and the timing of when the bump occurred?
Yeah, this is that call.
And what do you recall telling them about the location where they live and the timing of the bump?
What I was saying is that they live in a very small, safe area. For somebody to do that in the middle of the day, it makes me think that it's even more the police, because it would be so easy for them to get caught doing something. It's almost like these people don't care about getting caught.
Okay, so let's briefly recap before we go on. The
No.
letter comes on the 25th, right?
Yes.
And no one makes any payment.
No.
The bump had happened on the 19th and a week before, and no one made any payment, right?
No.
What's the next escalation point on April 28th? What happens next? What do the police do next?
The guy that came up to my mom on the street and wrote the letter to the house is now looking for her at work and calling her place of work and calling the office looking for her.
So, and this is, I believe, SX,
Be
sorry.
one
State
second,
Exhibit
people. I need to
107.
Stand up.
okay? Now, you're not on this call, right?
No, I think the guy called Erica.
Okay. And what happens after this call?
Is this the one where the undercover calls Erica?
Undercover calls Erica, and does someone call you after the undercover calls Erica?
Yeah, he said to Erica that I gave Mrs. Adelson some important papers last week, and she knows what this is about. She needs to call me. So then Erica called my mom and told her about this person that called the office, and my mom was scared because now they're tracking her down at work. And she called me up and she was really shaken.
Now, during this period of time, what had Catherine Magbanua been telling you about her calling the number?
She said she called the number and she called another number and nobody picked up.
So your mom calls you, and that's Z, correct? That's Z on April 28th at 9:42 a.m. And why did you tell your mom during that call that it's odd that the guy called the office? What was odd about it?
It was odd that he called the office because Katie had been telling me she's been calling the number. So it's odd that the guy's not picking up, but yet he's making phone calls.
After that call, there are a series of calls where you try to reach Catherine Magbanua, right?
Yes,
Why are you trying to reach her?
because I just heard that the guy's calling the office and she said she'd called and the guy wasn't picking up, or she may have told me it was a non-working number. And I was driving into the office at the time and I had limited time to try to handle this before I got into the office and became really busy.
Call AA, they played, the state played for the jury. That's a voicemail where you say, hey, it's me, it's important, call me, bye. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Now, BB is on April 28th at 10:43 in the morning, and she calls you back, correct?
Yes, she called me back.
What does Katie, if you remember, and I can play it for you if you need it, what does Katie first tell you about the phone number when you call her back, when she calls you back?
She says it's a non-working number and that it's a Gmail number and it's been called 100 times.
What do you understand her to be saying when she says it's a non-working number?
That like when you call a number, it rings and then you hear like a long beep and that no one's able to pick it up and it's not an active line.
Later in this call, BB, she then tells you that she's been calling the number and it just rings. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When she tells you that, how do you feel?
I know she's lying to me because it's either going to be non-working or it's ringing. It can't be both. And the guy's calling the office. So.
And at that point in time, I think Miss Kappelman termed it as things got stressful. You started to get upset with her, right?
Yeah, I know she's lying to me.
And as you're finding out that she's lying to you, what do you start to think?
I start to think that this could be Sigfredo, and that's why she's kind of covering and not wanting to come meet me when I keep asking her to come meet me. I think she found out that it's him, and she's just BSing me.
Now, at some point after the argument in the middle of the call, you soften and you say, if someone's messing with you, they're messing with me. Why do you do that?
Because at that point, I want her to know that, like, I'm on your side. I'm not trying to set you up. I'm not turning anybody in. Like, I know you're innocent. I had nothing to do with this. I know you had nothing to do with it, but I need your help. And that's why I'm calling her, is for help.
At the end of the call, what does she tell you she'll do? What does she tell you to do?
At the end of the call, she says, you call for that number. I'm like, fine, I'll call me. I don't know any of these people. I don't think anyone's going to be afraid of me. But at this point, I don't care. I said, you know what? Let me just call the number. And when I get to the office and I have a break, I'm going to call him.
Now, does she tell you, like she did with Sigfredo on a later call? Does she tell you, make sure you don't call from your cell phone?
No.
Does she tell you, like she did with Sigfredo on a later call, make sure you call from a landline?
No.
And you call from your cell phone, correct?
I did, yes.
Now, before you call from your cell phone, you do *67. Why did you do *67?
In the event that it's a bad guy, I thought it would prevent him from having my cell phone number.
By the way, in DD, when you're going back and forth, because there's some calls between you and her trying to get the number and seeing if the caller ID, if there's caller ID at the dental practice. She says to you, you want me to call from my fucking phone, and you say, I can care less where you call from. And she says, exactly. Why do you not care where either of you are calling from?
Because if it's the police, it's fine. I'm worried about if it's not the police.
And why do you think that it doesn't matter where she calls from?
Because I don't think she's involved in the extortion of me or the murder of Dan Markel.
At 1:51, a minute and 51 seconds into DD, and again, DD is that same morning, April 28th, you say to her, they can listen to whatever conversations they want. You're talking about calling on your phone. Quote, they can listen to whatever conversations they want. Why do you not care about anyone hearing what you're talking about?
Because we weren't involved in a murder. You know, we're trying to figure out who's behind the second extortion and if my family's in any danger. If it's the police, let them listen in. That's fine.
Now I want to play FF, and that's the call to the undercover.
Okay.
He really does need to hire somebody to do this for Donna's trial, honestly.
Got it.
Hello?
Hola, diga. Hello, diga.
Hi, who is this?
Who's this?
Someone's been calling my family. I'm trying to figure out who this is.
In reference to what, man?
Someone by the name of Sammy called.
Yeah, that's me, man.
All right, what's going on?
Well, what's going on is my brother Tato. Okay, my brother Tato has not been taken care of. His family's not been taken care of. I talked to a dentist. Why are you calling me? Who are you? I gave the number to a lady.
I don't know Tato.
You don't know Tato? I'm
No.
sure you know Katie and Tuto. They've been taken care of since the family problem been taken care of up north.
I don't know who you are.
You don't? Well, this isn't going away, my friend. Because let me tell you something. I was at Broward with Tato, and he told me the whole story. He told me nobody was taking care of him. Nobody was taking care of his family. The family was taking care of Katie and Tuto, and nothing's been taken care of with Tato. So we know what's going on. And Tato needs to be taken care of. Do the right thing. The lady already has the paperwork. She knows what I'm talking about. We know Katie. We know Tuto. We know they've been taken care of.
All right, let me look into things.
No more fucking around, man. No more fucking around. This ain't going away. You guys need to do the right thing for Tato. That's my brother, man. That's my brother, and he needs to be taken care of. His family needs to be taken care of, just like Katie and Tuto have been taken care of.
I've never met these people, but let me call you back, okay?
That's bullshit, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know this lady. I don't know your relationship with this lady, but we know what the fuck is going on. This ain't going away. Take care of Tato just like you take care of Katie and Tuto, man.
Now, in hours and hours of The Wire, this is probably the quietest you've ever been. Why?
I was looking to get information from him. I wasn't looking to give him any information about me or anything. And he was pretty scary too. I was talking to him on the phone.
Now, when he starts speaking and he says things like in reference to and do the right thing, what did that make you believe?
He sounded educated. He didn't sound like a Latin gang member.
Because they can't be
And
educated
after
fairly.
this call,
Jesus.
going to GG, you have an 11-minute call with Katie, correct?
I do, yeah.
Now, you're not very good with names, are you?
I'm horrible with names.
So on that 11-minute call, not only do you again get the names Tuto and Tato confused, but now you start calling this undercover whose name is Sammy Simon, right?
Yeah, I changed his name by accident.
Did you do it on purpose to hide anything?
No, I'm just bad with names.
Now, you say to Katie,
Look at that gallery now.
that you told him
Holy.
you don't even know who these people are and you don't know what he's talking about. Why is it important for you to tell Katie that?
Well, because I don't.
1 second. If Daniel, when he's walking around and he looks back and sees what that gallery looked like in the beginning to what the gallery looks like now, does he not, a light bulb not go boom and say, I'm really boring people. I'm really boring people. If I'm doing this to the gallery, what am I doing to the jury? I would, if it was me, I'd be thinking that. If I was the defendant, I'd be looking out that gallery and all the empty seats and people leaving and not coming back. And I'd be like, oh my God, everybody's just saying we're done with this. What is my jury thinking? Like, these are little, I don't know if Daniel's going to watch for this stuff in Donna's trial, but he sure needs to. He sure needs to.
I want Katie to think that I'm trying to set her up or set her friends up, and I'm keeping quiet. But I'm, in the same time, I'm going to her for help, and I'm letting her know, like, the guy picked up the phone call as soon as I called him.
There's some conversation on this call about her working at the office. Did Katie ever work at your office?
No, never.
So when she brings up on this call working at your office, why do you kind of just say, yeah, you're a great worker at the office, or whatever you say? Why do you not say, Katie, I don't know what you're talking about. You've never worked at the office.
Yeah, if I would have talked bluntly and said you don't work at the office and what the checks were for and that she was cashing them, she would have known I was setting her up or setting her friends up.
You say things on the call like, I might have the wrong Katie. It might be another Katie. Why do you tell her that?
Because when I called her back, she got like really quiet, like almost like she sounded like she wasn't trusting me, and almost like she was suspecting me of trying to set her and her friends up. And that's why I really pushed to say, like, hey, I'm not setting you up, and talk to her like that.
What was all that you cared about at this point in time?
I just wanted the extortion to stop.
And when you say you just wanted the extortion to stop, who were you worried about? What were you worried about?
Well, I was worried that, my parents were really upset. I was worried that my parents were going to go to the police and cash the second extortion, and then go to the police and end up having to tell them about what happened to me in the first place. And
What
then
happened
I was
to
going to have
Dan?
to worry about the original extortion coming after me. And at this point, I know that it involves the head of the Latin Kings and Sigfredo Garcia. And I wasn't going to talk to the police.
You talked to her about the guy coming up with details. What details did he come up with on this call?
He knew about payment.
You specifically tell her that he mentioned her name, or a Katie. Why do you tell her that?
Because I'm letting her know this involves you. Like, I need your help, but this guy has details that are wrong, but he has details.
And on this call and some others, what do you tell her about your parents?
I tell her that my parents are close to going to the police to try to get her to help me.
Now, does Katie have any idea at this point in time, any idea whatsoever, that your mom had known for 21 months about the original extortion?
No, that's what I've been lying to Katie about, and telling her that my parents have no idea what happened to me, and I just tell them it's a long story and I can't talk about it.
Okay. Exhibit II is already in evidence.
Come on, Daniel.
On that call, it's a call between Katie and Sigfredo. Katie is filling Sigfredo in, correct?
Yeah, I remember that one.
And on that call, 1 minute and 47 seconds into the call, she says to Sigfredo, and like they're very, very close to reporting it already. What is she talking about?
She's letting him know what I've been telling her is that my parents are going to go to the police if you can't get these friends of yours to either stop and contact them.
I want to take a couple seconds and dissect this statement. You understand that the state's theory is that Katie Sigfredo and Luis Rivera conspired not only with you, but also with your sister and your parents to kill Professor Markel. You understand that, right?
That's their theory.
And you understand that here, Katie is telling Sigfredo, I'm worried that they're going to go to the police. She's not telling it to you, she's telling it to Sigfredo Garcia. Is that what's happening here?
That's exactly what's happening.
Now, the state, you've heard it in this trial, says Katie tried to silo people, right? Nonetheless, Katie is telling Sigfredo that the very people that, according to the state, are co-conspirators for are going to go to the police and report what? Does it make any sense?
No, not at all.
Come on, Daniel, you can do it. Come on.
About in, I'm going to go to JJ now.
No, Daniel, please finish.
And that's the same day at 1:46. About 15 minutes later, Sigfredo Garcia calls Katie back. And during this call, he says he's going to get rid of his phone. And Katie tells him not to call from his phone or from the office. Because he says, what does he say he's going to do?
I think he's going to call the person who's extorting my family.
Now, before this point in time, Katie has told you that he and she, or at least she, has called the number how many times?
She said it's been called 100 times. She said it's non-working. It's a Gmail number.
Moving to later in the day, LL.
Come on,
This is a
Daniel.
call between you and Katie.
Almost there, people. Almost there.
The
We
call
can
begins
do it. We can
with
do
her
it.
again saying that she called the number. Did you find out later through discovery that she never called the number?
Yeah, many years later, I found out.
She then says that Sigfredo Garcia left a message. Did you find out in discovery that no message was ever left?
Yeah, they were lying. I found out years later.
Now, during this call, by the way, did you know they were lying at the time?
No, I thought she was telling me the truth.
During this call, you say, I don't want anyone to go to jail because you know what? People get mad when they go to jail and they feel like they have somebody to get back at. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, I do.
Why did you tell her that?
I wanted to let her know that I'm not going to the police and I'm not turning anybody in.
On a later call, do you recall saying what you thought the police could do to protect you?
I think I thought the police couldn't protect me.
Do you recall saying to Katie, I'll give you a secret.
Can I inquire what call we're referencing?
I'll move on, Your Honor. We'll do it tomorrow.
You've got a few more minutes. You might as well make use of it while you got it.
I got other stuff to do today.
Go ahead.
there's discussions on some of these calls about meeting Katie. Did you ever meet her?
No, the last time I saw her was that Monday, April 25th.
Now we get to 00, and that's the same day in the evening, and it's a call with your mom. And to refresh your memory on the call so that I don't have to play the whole thing, the call starts with you saying, I'd rather not talk on the phone, and then you talk on the phone for 41 minutes. Do you recall that?
I do.
You say to your mom not to worry, that you're 99% sure of it. You sure of?
I'm sure it's the police.
Why are you so sure of it at this point in time?
Because I'd spoken to the undercover, and when I spoke to him, I realized this is obviously not Sigfredo Garcia. And the way the guy spoke on the phone, and again, how different he was than how a real Latin king would be. He's not who he says he is. And at that point, I feel very strongly it's the police at that point.
And again, you describe why you don't think it's a real extortion, right?
Yeah.
For the same reasons that we've gone over and over today, correct?
Yes.
Your mom says that they're barking up the wrong tree. Why? What did you understand her to mean when she said they're barking up the wrong tree?
Well, they think it's a murder for hire. They don't realize that it was an extortion on our end.
And your mom says 24 minutes and 20 seconds into the call, I just hope they don't go and bother Wendy. And you respond that Wendy was scared from day one. She is just getting over this. What is Wendy just getting over?
The murder of her ex-husband.
But according to the state, Wendy Adelson is a co-conspirator with you in her ex-husband's murder.
Yeah, she's just getting used to being free. She's afraid the cops are coming for her. They're coming for you, Wendy. They're coming for
you. And in fact, you then go on to explain again that Wendy is just getting over the tragedy. This is the second time that you have described Professor Markel's murder as a tragedy, right? On the wires.
Yeah.
The first time was nearly a week before the bump.
It was.
Come on, Daniel. Bring it on. Come on, Daniel.
33 minutes and 40 seconds into the call. And this was not played for the jury yesterday. You say they got theories out there. Someone thinks that our family paid for this to be done. What are you saying here?
I'm saying it's the police, and their theory is they think it was a murder for hire, and that's why they're investigating it the way they're doing it, and they're pretending to be gang members who are coming back for more money.
Going back to Dolce Vita.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware Dolce Vita is, according to the state, the final straw that led to your arrest, right?
Yeah.
Going back to Dolce Vita.
Go to Dolce Vita.
Did you say something very similar to this in Dolce Vita?
Yeah.
What did you say in Dolce Vita?
I said that they only know part of the story, where they think they know part of the story. And
What do they think?
they think it was a murder for hire. And that's,
What was it?
it was an extortion.
Going to the next day. PP, which is in evidence but was not published to the jury. I want to play a portion of it.
Here we go with the audio again.
I got a couple boyfriends, you know,
Yeah.
but something out.
It's somebody not from the first layer, but probably the second layer.
You say it's somebody not from the first layer, but probably the second layer.
Yeah.
What are you saying here?
I'm saying I think it's a copycat extorter off of the first extorters. So the second is copying the first.
And who did you think that copycat was?
I thought the copycat could have been somebody from Luis Rivera, somebody that he may have known or known what he did, and now they're trying to do an extortion of their own, be a copycat.
And if it isn't a copycat, who still did you think it was most likely at this point in time?
I thought it was most likely the police if it wasn't a copycat.
By the way, 22 minutes into that call, PP, there's reference to a jet ski incident. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Oh,
What jet
I'm
ski
so
incident are
wrong.
you
There's
talking
another
about?
section of
When I went to pick Katie up to go jet skiing July 1st, and Sigfredo cut in front of me and slammed on his brakes and got out of the car and started threatening me in the street. And then started leaving threatening messages on my dad's phone that night.
where are we at? Still got 20 minutes, people. 20 minutes
Judge,
of
I'm
Daniel
about to move on to
Rashbaum.
the next day. Would you like me to do that?
If you can stop it within 5 minutes, your next line of questioning.
I think it goes a little longer than that.
Very well. Members of the jury, we're going to take our break for the evening at this point.
No.
Once again, you're going to receive the same instruction. Do not discuss the case with each other or anyone else. Do not look at any news coverage. Do not seek any information about the case. We'll resume tomorrow at 8:45. Please report by 8:30 and have a good evening.
Well, there we have part 3. Oh boy, we got part 4 to go, and then we get to watch the cross-examination with Georgia. So everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And I will be back for part 4 once I stretch, and then I'll be back. So thank you, everyone. See you later.